don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 161. Suns fan here with Cinderin. This episode is sponsored by our friends at Manscaped. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming. It's back to school time, and we want to make sure you pack the essentials to have the best year yet. The Manscaped 4th Generation Performance Package is just that. Be ready for whatever is in your daily schedule this year. It's the perfect package for your package and includes the brand new Lawnmower 4.0, fellas. Go for the valedictorian of ball trimming and join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com with the code WeSayThings. I was waiting for the pun because I hadn't read this beforehand. I like to keep it a surprise.
Love how you exposed yourself, how you read. You read literally one word at a time when you're reading a sentence. So you had to go back and be like, valedictorian. Oh, wait, valedictorian.
Well, it's separated.
Most people, when they read like, you know, a little word ahead, so they know the context. You just literally go one word at a time.
It's hyphenated, okay?
Okay.
If it wasn't hyphenated, maybe I would have said it. Thanks for destroying me in front of thousands of people during our sponsored segment. But again, great products at Manscaped. They have tons of stuff. They got body grooming stuff. They have, I mean, that's where you shave your balls with, of course. They have chapstick. They have body wash. They have everything you would need to keep yourselves nice and clean and delicious for your significant other or your significant other to come. Or not. For yourself even. So go to manscaped.com and just type in the We Say Things promo code to get 20% off and free shipping. So, this is a big day, Cinderin.
Mm-hmm.
So, first and foremost, let me say this, okay? Well, I guess we got to do patrons first. But actually,
first and foremost, wait a minute.
We might as well say this now. The Battle Pass is coming out September 1st. That's correct, yes? Our next episode is supposed to be September 1st, I believe. Or maybe August 31st, actually. I propose...
No, it's September 1st.
Well, for me, it'll be August 31st, I believe. Anyway, regardless... No. Okay, it'll be in whatever time it is, the Battle Pass won't be out by then. I propose that we do the podcast September 2nd, so delay it 2 days for me, onto September 2nd, so we can do the Battle Pass.
That seems like a wise choice.
Okay. So next week, you're going to be back from Malaysia by then,
yeah, I'm coming home on Tuesday.
Okay.
And the 2nd is on Friday, so that's perfect.
All right, perfect. All right, so now, in a different order than usual, we say thanks to our in-Bruce cheer from Patreon. Thank you to Yatoro Does It Again, Cinderin, Mr. Cakes, A_Scorpy, Obi-Wan cannot blow me anymore as my heart belongs to Cinderin. Oh. Where is the publicity for Dragon's Blood? In parentheses, an ad. What is the meaning of life? Oscar Seeker, Make Drow Great Again, Roundy 3, Games for Falling Asleep thinks Dota 2 needs millions of active players for a healthy matchmaker, marketing to the masses, Valve P. Disco Farm D, I am once again asking you to say my name, Simple Stooge, Silly Stooge, Salacious Stooge, Sadistic Stooge, Scathing Stooge, Sken. I'm sure that said...
Why don't people learn not to have too long names?
That's a much better name than usual. Thank you for that. Hakuna Matata laughs because it gets to 48 degrees Celsius here. Commander Donut, Milan Miami, the Mega Pope, and would Suns fan and Cinderin's couple name be Sins fan or Sunsdern? Sunsdern. Sunderin, I feel like. Sunderin does sound pretty good. Go ahead, Cinderin.
All right. What does it take to be happy and why aren't you doing it? TI in New Zealand. That answered its own question, I guess. Zan Xavier, Nate Thicko01 Hamscroats. Bacon, Shark TM. What did the man shout when killed by an Iranian Spectre player? Dispersion. We had that last week.
It's a good one.
Freshly seasoned goat balls. Janie, Dop, nothing to see here. _man. Guitar strings. Je suis ivre mort. Can we get Seb on the podcast? We will try. Ben Broomhead just wants a Faceless Arcana. Is that too much to ask? Also, maybe some map changes wouldn't hurt. Well, you got a little bit of that. We'll get to that. Wooden Aftertaste, Anonymous, and Peter, a sperm has 37.5 megabytes of DNA info. One ejaculation transfers 15.875 gigabytes of data.
No, it's 15,000.
15,000. Oh, never mind. That's a comma. 15,875 gigabytes of data.
What's after a gigabyte? Do you know? Is it exabyte? I don't know if that's...
Terabyte.
I knew that. Fuck.
And then it's exabyte.
Yeah, I knew that. I have a 5 terabyte drive. That was test, Cinderin. Definitely knew that one.
Good.
Okay, thank you to our Inbruce cheer as usual. We're just going to get straight into the episode because 7.32 came out. It's a big one-ish. I think, let me just change scenes here so we can follow along together. I don't want to go through everything. I'm sure you don't either. We're going to go over things that you or I find interesting or impactful, okay?
Yes.
And obviously the general changes will start us out. Primal Beast added to Captain's Mode. We'll get to his changes as well, but your thoughts. I'm obviously very happy, and I mean, it was expected, but...
I mean, we want every hero to be in CM, right? And usually when a new hero comes out, you give it some time to be tested and figure out if it's super broken or whatever. They released Primal Beast, who was very broken. Then he got ultra nerfed. One of the biggest nerfs I've ever seen to a single hero, and his win rate went down by 15-20%, something stupid. And then they did nothing about him and added him to CM because he wasn't very good. And I guess that's fine. He's been played a couple of times here during ESL Malaysia and has not done well. So that's pretty much par for the course for the hero's win rate in general.
Yeah.
Good to have him in though. It's a pretty fun hero, but I think he needs some buffs to be more competitively viable.
I hope somebody picks him. That's all I'm hoping for. And I think the one change that you probably, I mean, there was an ejaculation thing from Peter Niebling. This is probably as close as you get ejaculating reading patch notes, is the XP required per level, Cinderin. Is that accurate?
Okay. All of the stuff, or most of the stuff in the general updates is the best stuff in the patch. So we're just starting out with creme de la creme, and then it's going to get gradually worse as we get further down, okay?
Disagreed.
This is the good shit. This is the good shit. This is the good stuff that I've wanted for a very long time. So there's something in this patch I'm super happy about, and then there's things that I don't like very much. But the good stuff in this, it's in the start. Just to finish off on Beast, I think he has been picked, I want to say 4 games already at ESL Malaysia. And I think he's lost all of them, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe
Primal
he won
Beast?
one game. Yeah, Primal
You're
Beast.
kidding. Wow.
No, I'm not. He got picked yesterday multiple times. Nigma played it. Alliance played it. I think one more team might have run it one game. Maybe Fnatic.
That's legit. Sure. That's legit.
He got picked. He did not do very well, though. But he's been played. Okay, so let's not go too much into the exact numbers, but just look over it. The essence of this is leveling up takes longer. You need more XP per level. But there's also a little bit of a caveat to that, which comes right after, basically. So first of all, more experience to level up, and then you get more experience for killing people on kill streaks after they have a kill streak of 5 or higher, and you get the same on a dominating streak, and you get less on a killing spree. This is not very relevant most of the time, because this truly matters when heroes are wicked, sick, or higher, and that's not a very... I mean, it happens quite frequently, but it's not something that happens all the time in every game. So... the kill streak one is not that important. The important one is the flag bearer creep.
Yep.
So starting minute 2, which means on the 5th wave. On the 5th wave and every second wave after, there's an extra creep in every lane, and that extra creep has an aura. That gives 3 HP regen.
I don't think it's an actual extra creep. It's just one of the creeps gets replaced.
Oh, the melee creep gets replaced. Yeah. Never mind. That's actually very important, because otherwise the XP change wasn't really that big of a change. Right. Because there would just be more creeps for more XP. Right. So one of the melee creeps turns into a flag bearer. And it looks really goofy. And it gives 3 HP regen aura. And it has 40 magic resistance for itself only. That is not part of the aura. Mm-hmm. So killing it with spells is harder, unless it's one-shot spells like arrow and hook. And then the 3 HP regen aura, I don't know if stacks, actually. I don't know that yet. And that can be relevant because you can convert this with Chen or Ench, I think. But you cannot deny it with hero abilities like Demonic Conversion on Enigma. So you can't just deny this creep out. And aside from having that aura, what makes it unique is that when it gets killed, every allied hero in 1200 radius get a melee creep's gold bounty. when your team last hits it, right? So the creep itself is worth a melee bounty, and then it also has the aura bounty on top. So if you're the only hero in the lane killing this creep, you get effectively the same gold as for killing 2 melee creeps. If you're in a dual lane and you kill this, you get the same gold value as killing 3 melee creeps. You get the same as 2, and your ally gets the same as 1 because they were in the radius, right? You get the idea.
Yep.
So we're going to get some insane strats where 5 heroes are going to go and kill this creep, and then they're going to underlord ulti to the other side of the map to kill the other creep, so they get more gold. That's not going to happen.
Hell yeah, I can't wait for that.
I got to be honest with this. It feels a little bit gimmicky. I said I love this part of the patch, the general updates. This is not one of the ones I love. I mean, it's new, it's fun. People want new stuff, and it's fundamentally very rare that Dota gets new creeps in lane.
True.
This hasn't happened since Dota 1, I think.
They've added additional creeps to waves over time. That's somewhat
right,
newish.
but it's been the same creeps.
Yes.
So a new type of creep hasn't happened since we got the siege creep in Dota 1.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So this is many, 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 many years ago. So I can appreciate the idea of doing that and trying something creative. I kind of like the idea of having some like extra creep that works like this. I personally think it spawns too frequently with every second wave.
It's a lot, yeah.
And I don't know if it should give extra gold bounty. Like, why does it need to do that? Can it just be a regular creep that is stronger and, makes the wave more powerful but doesn't reward you extra?
You don't want the fun stuff, huh? That's the only good part of it. I like is the gold.
No, because that counteracts what we wanted, which was less gold.
Yeah, but it's one creep every 2 waves.
I know. Let's do some math on that. So it spawns every minute, right?
Yeah, but you're not going to kill every single one. They can deny it.
Well,
right?
the person laning there is going to kill it the majority of the time, let's say, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it gives a melee creeps bounty, so it gives like about, let's say, 40 gold extra. And that means if you kill it every time, you get 20 GPM. Right?
Okay.
No, you get 40 GPM. It's every minute. There's one. That's quite a lot.
Well, this is okay, there's 2 things I want to talk about with this. And again, we're going to be spending more time on these changes than other ones probably.
Yeah.
Number 1, the way it looks, because this part doesn't require much of a discussion. I think it should be a different creep. I don't know if it's just I have the crocodiles enabled, and maybe I have like brain damage. It's really hard for me to tell when it's like there's a bunch of creeps. It's really hard for me to tell which one is the one carrying the flag.
I mean, you look for the aura, right? It has a circle underneath.
I try to look for it. It's just too many things going on. Okay, my brain can't handle it. That could be user error.
That's a you problem.
Or it could be the cosmetics of the crocodiles. Okay.
I mean, I don't know with the crocodiles if the circle is harder to see, but with regular creeps, it's very easy to see the circle under the creep.
All right, good. So it's definitely not user error. It's the crocodiles, pay to lose, but I'm keeping them because they look cool. Second thing, which is actually the more important thing, do you think that this incentivizes less stacking?
Not really. Because I think the value of this, I mean, indirectly, yes, because this is, more gold in the lane than before for more players, but the stack still has more value than the flag bearer creep, right? The guy who goes off to stack misses out on 1 melee creep's gold bounty, but makes a stack that gives experience and gives you part of the gold for stacking and gives the other player who kills the camp more gold as well. So I still think even stacking a small camp is better than being in range for flag bearer creep as the port. So don't really think you change your prioritization at all. And I also don't think this is significant enough for you to change lane setup where you run like tri-lanes because of flag bearer creeps, because they're in all lanes. So you're not getting more gold.
Kill it. It makes a cool
You're not
little
getting
mini
more
game,
gold by being more heroes in the lane if you miss out on the creep on the other side of the map. So that doesn't really make much of a difference.
I find it to be a fun mini game. Everybody in the lane, kill the flag bearer, deny the flag bearer. It's fun.
I mean, I don't mind it. It's not something that I think is like egregious and terrible or whatever, but I think it could use some polishing. I think perhaps they should come every second minute instead of every minute. And then they could be stronger, maybe, for example. So it's like a bigger deal. Because honestly, right now, they just feel like a gold pinata when they show up. It's like, 3 HP regen. It's really nice for you and your allies in the very early laning stage. So like the first few of them, you get that extra regen, which is nice. But come minute 5 and onward, it's like, does it really matter that much? Like maybe I'm underrating it. Maybe it does more than I think.
I mean, there's a
I
lot of
guess
stuff like this that I think it's impossible after a few days to really gauge,
yeah, for sure.
So that's one of the interesting changes for sure. Okay. Map changes. So
Yes.
Dire Ramp is deeper. The outpost is further away from the river. Move the bounty to be further away from the river as well. Rework the trees, basically making it quote unquote less dire favored for Roche. Do you think that this was enough for that aspect?
I mean, so in the last major we had, I think Dire had like 60% win rate, which is crazy when you think about it. And it was a combination of multiple factors, right? They had the outpost access to Roche, which was stronger than Radiant's connection point. When you buy back, that is. Radiant arguably has the better map position for it, but a lot of the time it will be better to have more lives than having the slightly better map position, especially. Dire had a better warding spot on the cliff. And Dire also has a triangle jungle that's easier, or not triangle, sorry, their upper jungle is easier to stack multiple camps at once and farm efficiently with heroes like Bristle, Kunkka, Caudle, whatever it is, where you like kind of pull all three camps together toward the outpost and then you could cleave them all. Radiant's jungle doesn't offer that in the same way. So something needed to be done, and this is one thing. I'll be honest with you, the way it looks on the map is it looks a little bit rushed almost. Like, it doesn't look natural, you know what I mean when I say that? Like, the rest of the map is like organic, how things are placed. This feels like, okay, we just need to move things, right?
It feels like a band-aid for something big changing after TI.
Yes.
Which is the second Roche, of course. 100% happening.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Guaranteed.
I'm sure that's what it is.
It's going to happen, and you're going to have to praise me for once in your life. Anyway, more map changes. Small camps have disappeared in the mid lane.
Did you mention the outpost?
Yes. So TPing to get like Roche. Oh, no, I didn't mention the extra second. Yeah, that's true. Extra second to actually TP there. Small camps no longer for the mid lane, so no back and forth, just farming sessions between the two. So perhaps we'll incentivize ganking a bit more, or maybe just go to the bigger camps on the other side.
I think it's going to change the mid lane meta, where mid heroes in the last patch, basically every mid hero that was played almost always was a mid hero that had the ability to go and clear small camp, right? So you'd pick heroes that could push out the wave, and then they would go stack small camp, and then when it was a double or triple stack, they would go farm it. Almost every mid hero that was played could do that. Now that that camp isn't there, I think there's a bigger variety in mid, and I think you might see more lane dominators mid again that focus on winning the lane, because in the last patch, it was mainly about drawing the lane or doing okay. As long as you could farm the small camp and you were impactful in the game, it didn't really matter that much. So like certain lane dominators would actually end up losing their lane because they were doing well in lane, but the other guy just had small camp every minute, and then he beat you, which is kind of stupid, right? So I think this is one of the best changes in the patch. It's something a lot of mid players wanted, so I think Valve just listened and just flat out removed that camp entirely instead of reworking it or changing the facing. You know, you could have maybe made it so that in order to get there, you needed to take like a loop around, so it would take so long that you would lose out on mid. You could make like a path block, right, or whatever. But that's not the case. They just removed it. I'm happy with that. I think it's good. And another reason I'm happy with it is that you draw gold out of the map. And something I've been talking about a lot of times, I thought the game was getting too fast with heroes ramping up too quickly, getting too much gold and XP. Now we've already got slowing down leveling. We're getting less gold from the small camps on both sides that doesn't exist. And the only compensation we have so far is flag bearer creep, which, again, don't fully have a grasp of how much gold this really is comparatively. It might still be more, actually, but there's other stuff we're getting to soon with gold. So,
Glyph.
Yeah.
Glyph, if we continue on this is going to be a 10-hour episode. Glyph of Fortification, instead of refreshing after each tier 1, is now tied to the first that falls from each tier. So tier 1 falls, you get fort back. Tier 2 falls, you get fort back. Tier 3, and I assume tier 4, although it doesn't list tier 4.
Not tier 4.
Okay, so not tier 4, which I guess that would be kind of broken. Do you think this changes much? I guess holding on to that first tower specifically for each tier just becomes a little bit more important.
I guess it makes it easier to get through the first line of defense, right? Because beforehand you got a glyph for every tier 1, but it makes it harder to get toward the base because you get glyphs after tier 2 and you get glyph after tier 3. So getting racks will be harder, but getting map control early will be easier for lineups that do that part. It's hard to say exactly how much this is going to end up mattering. I think this is one of those things where teams need to get actually very good at the patch before these things start playing a big role. I think it's not really you're not going to see this mattering a hell of a lot in the first few weeks, I think. But when people really perfect things, it's going to matter. That it's hard to push.
Fountain of Invulnerability now applies on respawn, regardless of whether there's an enemy nearby. I've actually noticed this happen, and I mean, more incentive to
not dive.
Yeah, not dive, thankfully. Passive gold per minute decreased by 15%. This was your second orgasm reading these.
Yep.
Ancient
armor. That is probably the single best change in the patch, actually.
Really? Not the XP?
No, so to give a little context on this, the Dota used to have a flat GPM the whole game, right? Which I think used to be 75. And it's been different numbers. It was 60 at one point, it was 75 or something. And then I want to say a few years ago, they changed it to be scaling. So everybody started on the same level. And then based on game time, at specific breaking points, your GPM goes up. I don't know if you've noticed that when you play. Like it's kind of subtle, but it matters quite a bit.
Yeah,
so
over
like
time.
I don't remember the exact minutes that it happens, but your GPM goes up. And what I thought they were going to do was that they were going to, I mean, either something like this, just flat lowering it by percentage amount, or either changing the breaking points so they come later, or instead of doing the just flat out percentage, just doing different tiers that could be maybe slightly less than 15% lower in the beginning, but then more than 15% lower later. But they just flat out just streamlined it, which is fine. I think the original reason they put in more passive GPM was try to make it more interesting and fun to play support, because supports are getting less gold on the map. So by them getting more passive gold, they would keep up. But this obviously has the side effect of when there's more passive gold, all the cores also get their item timings faster. And they're using their gold for farming, and you're using your gold for utility. So I think effectively this hurts the cores more than the supports in a way, because they reach their farming items later. And as supports, you're still getting gold from flag bearer creeps now, and you're getting gold from, kills as always, the same thing. So I think all in all, my read on this is that supports will do pretty similarly because of flag bearers, but carries will get items slower because of passive gold. We'll see if that ends up happening or not. Either way, it should slow things down a bit, which is what... It wasn't only something I wanted, by the way. I know I love to rant about this on the podcast, but there's a lot of pro players that have talked about how the game has crept up to being too fast.
So you say. Pro players are saying that one, yeah. Okay, and then the last couple things from the general section. Ancient armor is increased from 13 to 23, and the backdoor protection HP regen has doubled from 90 a second to 180. So going for that all-out backdoor killing machine type strat. I felt like this wasn't an issue, so it's a little strange.
Envy won some games like this, so Valve had to nerf it.
You mean the guy that retired 6 months ago?
I mean, he's still winning pubs,
Okay, yeah.
I think this makes it almost mathematically impossible to backdoor the Ancient without tier 5 items.
What?
Almost. Like,
what do you mean? How's the tier 5? Just Deso? What other tier 5 item?
Stygian Deso is insane, right?
Yeah.
For backdooring. I think it's probably... I don't know how much damage Book of the Dead does.
I mean, surely a tiny wisp, crazy combo can still destroy with the right items.
You need tiny wisp, a lot of minus armor, and maybe a third hero that deals damage, I think. It's like really specific.
So
now.
Tell me, if it's that hard, why not just disable it entirely?
Because that's not what Dota does. You still want to give people the option to do the ridiculous shit, right?
If that's true,
which I can appreciate,
then why can't we kill the fountain anymore, Cinderin? Bring back fountain killing.
I wouldn't mind that.
You wouldn't mind that?
Actually, okay, so here's why you can't do that. Because then people would camp the game, right?
Yeah.
Then people would kill the fountain and keep fountain killing people after, without a fountain. So then it's not even fountain killing anymore.
I'm not going to lie. As much as I complain about fountain killing, that was hilarious in Dota 1. That was fucking hilarious.
Of course you would like that.
Yeah. It was just so stupid. Okay, on to item changes. BKB now has a 50 mana cost. That's a pretty big deal, I feel like.
It's the biggest deal for non-int cores that bought it, right? Like Razor, Kunkka, these heroes that don't have the biggest mana pool.
Oh, Cinder, I have something to show you. Sorry to interrupt. Let me turn on the... 1 second. We have a present for you. Who is it?
Present?
Just talking to the microphone.
Someone named Min had a present for you and Shannon, but since he wasn't sure when he was going to see you, he gave it to us to give to you. It's very cute.
So he gave me something.
I want to show you.
I'll show
I'm going to have a slightly delayed reaction because I can't see you on Discord. I can only see you on stream.
So this is my shirt.
Oh, please don't say something really inappropriate so I can't wear it in public.
So this is, for people that are audio listeners, is three cats.
Podcat.
3 cats in the shape of soda cans. Hilarious.
That's good.
And I'm going to wait for your reaction on this one to see if you can figure it out. I thought this was ingenious as well. This is your shirt, sir. And again, I know you're delayed, so I'm just going to talk.
Oh, that's my dog.
That is
really.
It's a dog in the shape of an onion.
That's funny.
It's good shit. So if we get invited to TI, I would guess that's the next time I would theoretically see you. I will try to remember to bring it for you, good sir.
I'll remember.
That's good. What size is it?
What size is it? Yeah, might not fit me, but
medium, so it's perfect.
Yours is medium.
NA medium? Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
That's very good.
All right, back to the patch. That was a little.
That was good.
A little shout out segment there.
Oh, that's really nice. Thank you to whoever gifted
to that person. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right, back to BKB.
Yeah. Just to finish off, obviously it adds some depth to mana burn, right? Like if you're Invoker or you're Anti-Mage and you can drain heroes in a stun and they can't activate BKB suddenly, it gives new avenues for killing for those specific heroes. But more than anything, I think the mostly important thing is that, can I just tie this in with Refresher Orb even though we're not getting there for a while?
Sure.
Because I think that's what's important here. Refresher Orb is also getting more expensive. And you had these cores that were buying BKB Refresher, right? Like Razor or even PA was getting BKB and then Refresher 6th item. Yeah. Tons of carries were getting Refresher 6th item when they had BKB. And now if you go for that build, you don't necessarily support it with your mana pool. So it limits you a bit in your ability to pull that off. And that's
I would have preferred them to disable Refresher from working on BKB, honestly. It used to be that way. And I honestly think that would be better for the game. It would actually just be better. You could do that too. But okay.
I would not mind that.
Moving on. Okay, which ones do you want to talk about? Blade. I mean, we don't want to talk about the minor stuff.
You could just mention it, and then we don't go in depth on those. It's interesting.
Well, but then I have to mention everything in the patch. And it's gonna be 10 hours.
Just mention all the items. It's
okay.
Not much.
Blade mail duration increased from 4.5 seconds to 5.5.
This item needed something. That's fine.
Bloodstone recipe cost decreased from 900 to 700, and the active spell lifesteal multiplier increased from 2 to 2.5. Nobody was buying this, so
I feel like this item just slowly but steadily is going to become super good, and it's just a matter of when people realize that it's that good.
I like this item because I like the heroes that enjoy spell lifesteal. I know nobody does.
Never buy it, but it might be really good. Actually.
It's a sleeper. Dragonlance now requires Blade of Alacrity, Belt of Strength, and the 450 gold recipe, so same total cost, but they kind of flip the items. The attack range has been increased by 10, and the agility decreased by 1. What is the purpose of this exactly?
I think people were buying Dragonlance with the 2 belts, and it was too strong, so you can't go that route to make it. That's what it feels like to me is the main thing here. I don't know if that was a problem, really, but...
No.
I mean, whatever. It's fine.
All right, this one I didn't understand. I'm sure there's an interaction, but Yule's and the upgraded one, whatever the hell that's called, now purges first, then applies Cyclone modifier. Where does that... Something was happening that they didn't want happening, but what was it?
I don't know which interaction this is, because I'm thinking like Nullifier, you can't dispel anyway, so
right.
It's not going to work there.
Oh, somebody's bringing up a good point. Dragonlance, you can't disassemble to BKB. That actually is a very big deal for the build that people were going with a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah, true. I'm doing a brain fart here. I just thought 1 belt got changed into the recipe. No, it's the other way around.
It was Ogre Axe and 2 bands.
Oh my god, I never buy this item. It was Axe. It was Axe and 2 bands of Elven Skin. Yeah, that's a very big deal, actually. Thanks for that. Of course. I didn't connect that in my mind. Yeah, you can't disassemble it to BKB. That's big. That's what people were doing with Dragonlance. So, very true. Very, very true. Now you can disassemble it into Basher, which you don't want because you're a ranged hero with Dragonlance. So,
Okay, Falcon Blade damage increased by 2.
We didn't figure out the Yule.
I mean,
I don't
some
know,
people
actually.
are bringing, some people are giving some suggestions. Regen rune doesn't regen now when you're Yuled. I mean, you'd take damage though, wouldn't you? So it would disable it anyway. For Veno Shard.
You take the damage when you fall.
Yeah.
So if you Yuled someone who had regen in the enemy team, they should technically be regenning in the entire cyclone until they land.
Right, so 2 seconds, that's a very big deal.
I don't know. There must be something we're missing. I just can't think of it right now.
Falcon Blade damage increased by 2. Force Staff bonus health increased from 150 to 175, and the cooldown decreased by 1. I feel like this is an item that we're not seeing as often as we used to, and just a couple nudges will bring it back. So this might be it. Glimmer Cape cast range increased from 550 to 600. The magic resistance increased from 15 to 20. And the fade time decreased by 0.1 seconds. So pretty sizable buffs for every aspect of this.
Do you remember that patch that came out that removed the buffer range on items? Does that sound familiar to you?
Buffer range? What does that even mean?
Yeah, so you had that. Do you remember you used to be able to cast items on allies from further away than the item's cast range was?
What?
Does that ring a bell?
That does not ring any bell.
There was a patch, I think it was 2 years ago, that effectively gave Glimmer Cape like 150 less cast range without nerfing Glimmer Cape because it stopped that buffer range you had from casting items on allies. That was both Glimmer and Force Staff got quite a lot worse that patch, and people started buying them less and less because you had to expose yourself to Glimmer your ally way more. And you felt it instantly when that patch came out if it was an item you bought frequently, because you're like, why am I not getting Glimmer off? I was like, I was sure this was a Glimmer moment, and I just was not in range anymore. It's because you had to be in that cast range. So this is a late compensation, obviously. I think it was actually even 500 at one point, maybe. Now it's up to 6. We're closing in on the original Glimmer Cape with buffer range. I don't know if that's the correct term I'm using. I think acquisition range is something else. So whatever it is called, this is bringing it back to the Glimmer you will remember. And that item was very popular because it was very, very strong and easy to use. Now you give it more buffs too. So I think I'm going to be buying this item more again from this.
It makes sense why I wouldn't remember that, because I'd never buy any support items or anything that helps the team. Guardian Greaves I do buy though. Recipe cost increased by 50. Total cost decreased by 50 overall, which I guess we'll get to the mech. Active healing increased by 50. Nobody's buying this item. Super expensive. We'll see. Hand of Midas did not get nerfs, despite it being bought every single game at the major. Instead, when used on a neutral creep, will secure a neutral item drop if any is available.
I don't know who came up with this. I'm like, this is just so random.
It is random. It's
kind of funny, but
it's fine.
This item had a terrible win rate at the major.
Did it? Oh, okay.
I think people were buying it a lot of the time when they lost their lanes, and then it kind of just enforces you losing. I think the mindset around buying it was not good from the pro teams, to be honest. So.
Heaven's Halberd cast range increased by 50.
Okay.
Helm of the Overlord lifesteal increased from 18 to 20% on heroes, and lifesteal now affects creeps by 50% of its value, so 10%. And this is going to be a trend.
Yes, good. I was going to say that. Every lifesteal item except, what's it called, the neutral item? The tier 1.
Oh, the mask thingy?
The one that gives you a flat health amount on lifesteal.
Yeah.
That one did not get nerfed, but every percentage-based lifesteal item is half on creeps.
And skills.
And I think this is going to matter more than you'd think. I don't know. It's not half on. Is it half on Monkey King as well, for example?
No, not on Monkey King. That's not the same kind of lifesteal, though, right?
I mean, he gets a percentage-based lifesteal.
Okay, we'll get to those. I can't remember anymore. But yeah, no, I think this is a big deal as well. This is a very big deal. Hurricane Pike cooldown decreased by 1. Mage Slayer magic resist up by 5%, so now 25%. This is like the Bloodstone. Every single patch, little by little. Yeah. People were already buying this occasionally. Thinking to build Bloodthorn, right? I mean, it seems like it's a good item, though. Mask of Madness gets the lifesteal treatment, so it goes up by 4% on heroes, 24%, and then half of that gets applied to creeps, so you can't lifesteal in the jungle nearly as much. Mechanism reduced in cost by 100, and cooldown decreased by 15 seconds.
This item is so good. I feel like
people are already buying
this
this
item
too,
has also
right?
been buffed a lot. I think mech is coming back with this, honestly. It's not been forgotten, but it's just not been prioritized.
Yeah, I
and
guess
I think we're getting there now.
Chen was like the hero that would spam, and I'm trying to think of another hero that would buy mech in this last patch.
Some teams would buy it on 4 Dawn, where they went the healing build, right? Or 5
Right.
Dawn.
Okay.
They went Locket Mech.
Morbid Mask.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot of heroes buying it.
Morbid Mass increased from 15 to 18% lifesteal on heroes, and then again half to creeps, so 9.
Yep.
Nullifier armor increased from 8 to 10, and the cooldown decreased from 11 to 10. This item is fucking crazy. It's actually crazy.
Armor now.
Pipe, which nobody bought. The aura, the magic resist aura increased from 12 to 15%. I feel like that's not enough.
Meaningful. It's pretty meaningful.
Who's buying this item right now? Or am I just wrong on this?
I think it's going to come down to what the flow of the patch is going to be. If it becomes powerful to play teamfight timings in the mid game with the gold chains economy and everything, this will be a very meaningful item again.
It feels so bad to complete this. It is so. How much is the recipe? It's so expensive.
Yeah, but that's because Hood is so stupidly cheap for how good it is, right?
True. Yeah, that is true. Radiance, hell yeah. Burn mischance from 10% to 15%. Getting back to the old patches, it seems. So that's.
I don't know why they didn't make it 17. That would be very.
I know. I agree. 17% would have been the old school number. Refresher cooldown increased from 170 seconds to 180, and mana cost increased from 300 to 350. And then on top of that, the refresher shard from the third Roche and beyond, mana was 0, which was always weird, and is now 200. So that's. Good. I just wish it said does not work on BKB, but maybe another patch.
I would be down for that. I actually think that would be kind of cool. And then you could make both items better again, because it feels like the BKB interaction is the one that is too powerful, right?
Yes.
But we'll see. Now this costs 50 more mana. The orb, that is, the BKB costs 50 more mana, so that's a grand total of 100. It's actually 150, right? Because you want a BKB refresh BKB, so that's 3 times 50 more you need to have. It's going to be noticeable, I think.
Satanic, the passive lifesteal increased from 25% to 30% on heroes, and then again gets half the values on creeps. And then the active itself has been decreased from 150 to 145%. Yeah.
But the active lifesteal is full on creeps.
Oh, is it? Is that what it says?
It doesn't say that it's half, right?
It just says lifesteal now affects creeps by 50% of its value, so I don't see why that wouldn't affect it.
It says lifesteal affects creeps by 50% of its value, parenthesis 15%, which is half of the original lifesteal, right? But it doesn't say that Unholy Rage bonus lifesteal is half on creeps. It might be. It's not clear from this whether that's the case.
Wait, where do you see parentheses 15%?
Lifesteal now affects creeps by 50% of its value, parenthesis 15%.
Okay, mine in game does not say.
Oh, I'm on the patch page, not in game.
I see.
I don't know. That makes it a little ambiguous. I don't know. And the reason that matters a lot is that heroes would activate Satanic and then they would cleave, right? And then it would full heal from the wave. I don't know.
Not that the tooltip will be our saving grace here, but it says heals the attacker for the percentage of attack damage dealt. Lifesteal from creeps is reduced by 50%. So it seems like a general thing.
I think this is one of those things you just have to demo and see if it works or not. You can't trust the tooltips.
Yeah. Shadow Amulet now has a 15-second duration, so griefers have to move occasionally.
Does this? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. People are celebrating this. I don't get it. Like, how does this matter?
They still will grief.
People were buying Shadow Amulet as a statement, not because they were buying Shadow Amulet and then they were hiding in a lane in the trees to get XP. I feel like now they're going to do that. And then I suppose you have to be at your computer to grief now, which is something, right? Yeah. You have to be there. But you still did in the past because you had to make sure you got experience once every 5 minutes to not get auto AFK banned, right? Or kicked out of the game. Or abandoned. That's the word.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like griefers are going to grief, and they'll find a way to grief. And the solution is not to nerf an item in an aspect that makes people hide for less time. It is to punish people that grief in a system, not...
I mean, I agree with that, but does this really matter for
that's what I'm saying. Does it matter?
No. What I mean is, this is 15 seconds. Will that actually ruin somebody's normal play of this item? Like, that's such a small sample size. You know what I mean?
I'm
Right.
just looking at it from the other perspective of will it make griefing happen less? And I just don't really see it. But I mean, at least it's a symbolic move, I suppose. But
Sure.
I don't know.
All right, Vlad's lifesteal on heroes up by 5%, and gets half the treatment on creeps, so 10% overall. Wind Waker, same deal with Yules, purges first, then applies Cyclone Modifier. I'm sure somebody in the comments will tell us where this matters.
Yeah.
Witchblade, int decreased from 14 to 12. I feel like that's the first non-lifesteal nerf that we've seen in these items. And Wraith Pact, lifesteal increase from 18 to 24% on heroes, and you get half on creeps, so 12%.
I really thought Wraith Pact was going to get nerfed or changed, but it actually just didn't. It got buffed on hero life.
I feel like people have not been, they weren't spamming it as much at the major.
It was still relatively popular, I would say, but maybe not as much.
I mean, before that, though, it was like literally every game, both teams had it. This definitely was not the case at the major.
To me, this is still one of my least favorite item designs, so that's why I'm biased against it. I just don't think it promotes interesting gameplay.
I agree.
It's literally just...
You know what does promote interesting gameplay? Neutral item changes, ladies and gentlemen. We got a new one, tier 1, Seeds of Serenity. You get 100 health, and the active is Verdurous Dale? Is that Verdurous? What is this word? I guess
it's called Verdurous.
Verdurous Dale. Target the ground with a 350 radius. Provides 8 HP regen to all allied units while they're in the area of effect. Lasts for 14 seconds. Cooldown 40 seconds. Thoughts?
Nice in Roche Pit, I guess. Yeah, you're together. You're hitting Roche. He slams and you heal.
It's a little bit of regen. You need like Holy Locket to make it better, perhaps. Sange and stuff like that can amplify it theoretically.
Yeah. The problem is that the area, right? 350 radius, it's not really useful in a fight most of the time because, people move. But if you're hitting a tier 1 tower and you're sieging there, it's probably nice. It also works on creeps. So maybe it can be nice in some niche situations against Glyph or, stuff like that. But overall, I think this is not a particularly good item. I think it might be one of the worst neutral items in the game. Which I think we should celebrate because they're too good. So good job on this. It's not great.
Lance of Pursuit, another tier 1 item. You get 200 mana. Passive, Hound. That's the trivia for the future. Attacking an enemy when they are facing away from the hero grants 15 attack damage and slows them by 12% if melee or 6% if range for 1 second. Kind of cool.
This item is overpowered, I think.
Overpowered? Okay.
Yes, I think it's too good. If you think about the type of heroes that would want the active, right? Or the passive, sorry, the Hound ability.
Yeah.
Every hero that you're kind of forced to run from when they get on top of you. So heroes like, let's say, Monkey King or Ricky or Bristleback, these heroes.
Yeah.
They get a neutral item that gives 200 mana. That sounds really strong to me. Like, generally the trade-off has been that the mana items that you take don't benefit you as a carry. And now you kind of get the best of both worlds. And getting 200 mana on these heroes is really strong. And I also think the passive is maybe too good. But I'll hold my judgment a little bit because sometimes when you read these texts, it's like it stands out to you as incredible. You got to remember, in a lot of situations, this item is worse than other ones because every time you're not fighting a hero, you just get 200 mana versus neutral items that give all stats, attack damage, whatever you have for farming, right? So there is a bit of a trade-off there, but I just think for certain heroes, this seems like an incredible value proposition because of the mana.
Yeah, people, I think you're not alone. I've heard a lot of people say similar things. But we'll see. And the last tier 1 item added, the Occult Bracelet, gives 5 all stats, and the passive is Rites of Eloshar. Sounds like something from Lord of the Rings. Each time the wearer is attacked, they gain a stack of 0.5 mana regen, up to 5 stacks, so that's 2.5 mana regen, and stack lasts for 10 seconds. I just played a game with Centaur, not that he needs that much mana. Felt great. And the first hero I thought of was Timbersaw. This is fucking crazy. At least it sounds like it for Timber. Cool item though. I like it.
Yeah, I like the idea of an item that works like this, where you get a bonus from getting hit. I need to say the Shan, I'm not a big fan of neutral items. There, I said it.
Really?
You're shocked. I know you
Holy
didn't expect
shit.
that. But I think this concept is interesting for a regular item. As something you could buy where you get some sort of passive ability from getting attacked. Not like Blade Mail, where it's just you're reflecting damage, but there's some sort of benefit to being hit. So as far as creativity goes, I think this is a cool idea. I think it's probably too good, honestly, this item.
As always.
So 5 all stats, right? You compare this to an item that was removed, which we're almost at, which is Ocean Heart, which also gave 5 all stats, but then it gave bonuses in the river. This has the same stats as Ocean Heart, but it works on the entire map. And if you want to get hit on a hero, you'll find a way. Timbersaw obviously is the absolutely S-tier hero for this probably, but you could imagine something like Leshrac as well, right? Like, Lesh spends quite a lot of time in the jungle, and you run around there, you get hit by a couple of neutral creeps, and you just get way more mana than you used to have. Because, like, if you imagine this, you get hit by neutral creeps one time, five neutral creeps one time each, you get 2.5 mana regen for 10 seconds. That means you got 25 mana while farming. You just got it for free that you didn't used to have.
I love it. Love the design.
I think Centaur is another great example, actually, that you mentioned, because he has mana problems, but he gets hit all the time. So
I do find it interesting, and it makes sense that a lot of these items, as we go through them, you'll notice that the ones that they got rid of serve similar functions or have similar concepts. So for this one, like you said, it takes the 5 stats away and the mana regen kind of from Ocean Heart, which is out. And it also has the getting attacked kind of deal, which is Chip Vest, right? Yeah. Which obviously I'm very sad Chip Vest is gone now. And then the last tier 1 item removed was Keen Optic, which was considered... I mean, I wish Fairy Fire was gotten rid of, honestly. But Keen Optic was considered, I think, the second best tier 1 item.
Fairy Fire?
Fairy Trinket, sorry.
Oh, Fairy Trinket, yeah.
I'm surprised
I think that's too good as well, honestly. I think that item's too good.
So that's removed. But yeah,
Keen Optic was, among the 3 items that got removed, Keen Optic was probably the best one, like the most conceptually powerful, because certain heroes just benefit way too much from getting cast range for free. That's like such an important stat in Dota. We already talked about Glimmer Cape, right? Being 50 range better. When you had Keen Optic, you just had cast range on your items too. It's like super strong for a tier 1 item. I think the reason Chip Vest got removed was not that the item design itself was necessarily bad with Regen and a Reflect. It was that so many heroes didn't want this item, right? It was like very...
How dare you?
Very pigeonholed with what heroes use this. And I think Occult Bracelet, it feels like, let's say, how many games... Okay, you probably haven't played this many games that this happens in. I've played quite a lot of games where I'm 5, all the neutral items are taken, and guess what's left is fucking Chip Vest every time. Hey, and it doesn't feel great to get
Chip Vest. Good regen.
But now with all the new items, if you get the quote-unquote shit leftover item, you're going to get Seeds of Serenity, which is at least 100 health for your support hero, and you get an active heal, because the other heroes will have taken Lance of Pursuit or Occult Bracelet. Or maybe you do get the Occult Bracelet, and that feels way better than getting a Chip Vest, because you get stats, and you get mana regen. So you'll feel better about finding that.
All right, well, on top of the Keen Optic, this is another thing. Obviously, the cast range has now been transferred to a new item, the Eye of the Vizier.
Yeah.
125 cast range. It's a tier 2 item, but it will remove 20% max mana. I didn't really think too hard about this. I can't think of a hero that wants this. Who wants this?
I think the downside might be too big, but I love this as a direction for neutral items. If we have to have them, I actually think this is a way cooler way of designing them, is that it's a trade-off. It's something we've had in very few items. So we had it in the old Craggy Coat that gave armor and then minus attack speed. And then we still have it in Nether Shawl, which gives...
Philly Stone.
It gives you magic, but it gives you less armor. And then Philosopher's Stone gives you gold and mana, but minus damage. I think that's a way more interesting way of designing them, where it's not just, hey guys, here you go, have some free stats for no reason. Now it's like you get the strategic element and you choose, is it worth the cost? So I think it's really difficult to design items like this that are appealing, and I think that for the Vizier the downside is probably too big, but would love more items like
this. I appreciate really you feeling that way, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but I do disagree. I think a few of these is fine, but you're saying you want them for all. Like, the reason that this is not good if you have it on every item is because then it's only good on specific heroes. Then you're having these items that nobody actually wants depending on your lineup. if you have too many of these trade-offs.
I think it's probably a pipe dream to design every item like this, but I do think it's just such a cool I've talked about this many times, that I love sacrifice in games, right? I love that you get something at the cost of something else, like Oracle as a hero design. I'm a huge fan of that.
I remember our A to Z, every time I died, you were happy. So yes, I understand how you feel
good trade.
when something terrible happens.
Yeah. No, I just find it intriguing, right? It's like, it's more interesting when the player has a choice to make. Like you have to like visualize whether the situation you get into, if it's worth the trade or not. For Oracle, it's like every spell he has, right, has an upside and a downside, more or less. Not his ult, but you're choosing which path is more important in the moment, which I think is such a cool design for that hero's lore as well. It's like just amazing.
Yeah.
So seeing this in items is something I'm happy about. But yeah, this item's probably too bad, honestly, compared to the rest.
New tier 2 item, the Specialist Array. 8 all stats. It's pretty fucking good, I feel like.
Yeah.
Plus 10 attack damage on top of that. And it has a passive called Crack Shot. Next attack fires projectiles at 2 additional targets within attack range. Only works on ranged heroes and does not proc attack modifiers. Cooldown 12 seconds.
So who's this insane on? What's a ranged hero that has really high base damage?
If it doesn't attack, it doesn't use attack modifiers.
Is Psyblade's an attack modifier? I don't think it is. So I think TA could technically triple Psyblade with this.
I don't know.
And she wants the stats and attack damage. I mean, the thing about this item is, I don't know how good Crackshot really is, and there's a lot of situations where it's irrelevant, right? Like if you're fighting a 1v1, or you're in a neutral camp and there's 1 creep left, then it does nothing. But in team fights, this might really add up. It's 12-second cooldown. You're going to just do free damage that you weren't usually doing. But the stats are just really nice, right? 8 all stats, 10 damage.
The stats are crazy. I thought it was a typo first time I saw it. That feels way too good for a tier 2 item.
It seems pretty good.
And there's other items that are for ranged only, basically, right? So I'm surprised they didn't get rid of those. Like, is there any melee only? Where's the melee love? Where's Stout Shield? Upgraded Stout Shield. What was that called? Poor Man Shield. They deleted it.
Is there actually? Is there no melee only neutral item?
Not that I can think of, but I'm sure chat will tell us.
What's it called? Pent-Edged Sword.
But it gives damage, right? So that's attack range.
Sure, but this also gives damage in all stats to a melee hero, right?
True.
Like, it's the same way Pent-Edged Sword gives damage, but
I guess Broom Handle gives attack range as well.
Broom Handle, yeah.
But you're not really getting it for the attack range on that one. Okay, fine.
You aren't. I mean, it's nice on some heroes for sure.
All right, and then tier 2 item, Dagger of Ristool, which brings me back to artifact lore.
Yeah.
10 attack speed, and it has an active called Imbrue.
Is that a typo? Is that a word?
I feel like it should be in Bruges, right? That's what you're thinking?
Yes, that's what Dude, imagine. Can we just get a neutron with an active called in Bruges? That would be great.
Is it supposed? Yeah, is Imbrue a word, or are they trying to say imbue?
It's a word. It's a stain. It's when you stain your hands with blood.
There's a word.
They were willing
staining?
to imbrue their hands in his blood.
How is that needed? It's
when you
for
stain
a word.
something, especially your hands or a sword.
Okay, so it's just a stain. It's not specifically blood.
You can like visualize. It's the act. I think the logic here is that you cut yourself. Right, you have the dagger and you sacrifice. You like cut yourself in your hand to get stronger. That's the idea. That's kind of a cool word. I'd never heard this word before in my life.
Anyway, when you activate that cool word, consume 100 health to temporarily gain 40 attack damage, and it lasts for 8 seconds. Cooldown 30 seconds. So it's kind of like a Mask of Madness to a degree, except it gives you damage, and the downside is it's only 100 health. That doesn't feel like very much, because you're gonna have attack. You're gonna have like a mask, or you're gonna have something with lifesteal usually. We've
been talking about this. This was one of the items that we talked most about here when the patch came out, and the consensus overall was that this item is too powerful. But then I find myself thinking, okay, so this item as a tier 2 is really bad when it's not active, right? It's 10 attack speed. That's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
You compare this to Brigand's Blade that gives 10 damage, 10 attack speed, and does more damage the less health the target has all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is an item design that I don't like that much, because I feel like it's extremely powerful in certain situations on certain heroes and very bad the rest of the time. So like this item is insane on a subset of heroes. It's insane on PA, right? You activate this as your Phantom Strike, and you just have 40 damage, and you have Lifesteal on Phantom Strike, which we'll get to. So then you're just covering the downside instantly and healing up. You put this on Tusk right before you use Tag Team and ult, and your ult just deals an extra 150 damage, or whatever it is, right? So, like, just for some heroes, this is really good, and for others, like, this is so bad on so many heroes, right? Where Brigand's Blade was at least, better.
I understand what you're saying, but I actually like this one. Like, Brood is the first hero that came to mind because of Insatiable. Just something with lifesteal that can take advantage of this, where the health doesn't matter. And yeah, 8 seconds, 30-second cooldown. I'm sure it's still
Again,
good.
I love the sacrifice aspect. I love that part of the item that you're paying to get an upside. I like the concept a lot. I just don't know if the numbers are right. And again, you're going to need to see games. You're going to have moments, I promise you. You're going to have games where you feel like this item is so broken for me or against me right now.
Mhm.
And then you might think in all of the other games, it's like, okay, whatever, right? But is that good design then? If it feels like this item is super impactful sometimes and most of the time it's like kind of meh. Like, essentially what you could do as a player in the game, right? You could have this in your backpack and use another item for farming, and then when you smoke to go to a team fight, you swap in your dagger Ristal. Then you didn't have the downside because you used the other item the rest of the time. Like, the bad trade-off with this item is meant to be that it's only good situationally, but you can choose the situation, right? So I don't know, like, maybe it's just... I think in some situations this is better than tier 3 items, right? That's my point, like... So you can use a tier 3 item for farming, and then when it's fighting time, you put in dagger Ristal. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm overrating it.
Essence Ring, Fey Grenade, and Quicksilver Amulet removed.
Nice. Essence Ring especially. Happy to see that go.
I'm sad to see Quicksilver Amulet go, though. I'm not going to lie. I really, really like that item.
It wasn't very popular.
I know.
The thing. Like, it was very situationally good on very few heroes. So again,
loved it on Juggernaut and on Primal Beast, actually. But I just like the move speed aspect a lot. Something on cooldown. So that made me a little sad.
Then you would have probably liked Fey Grenade as well. That gave 20 move speed.
No, I hated it because you had to use it.
But yeah, well, and it broke Lincoln's. I honestly thought they could have just stopped it from breaking Lincoln's.
Exactly.
And kept Fey,
exactly.
That's what I thought they were going to do. That's what people wanted, I think. But I mean, removing, I'm a fan.
They added a new tier 3 item, the Ogre Seal Totem from Aghanim's Labyrinth. It gives you 12 strength and has active Ogre Seal Flop. Flop forward like an Ogre Seal 2 times, dealing 150 damage and slowing enemies in a 225 radius by 100% for 1 second on each bounce. Bounce distance 400, mana cost 75, cooldown at 40 seconds, destroys trees. I was hearing you discuss this in the Malaysia panel, because I haven't gotten to see it, and you're saying that it's not like the one from Aghanim's Labyrinth, where it's just this awkward flop. It's actually...
It's way faster. You move almost as quickly as with Force Staff, which makes me think this item is probably too good, honestly.
Can you use it on other people or just yourself?
No, you can only use it on yourself. But like, you get 12 strength for free, right? Which is a really nice stat on every hero in the game because it's health, and then for some heroes it's damage. And I don't know. I feel like neutral items shouldn't give mobility. I also don't like Tumblr's Toy for the same reason.
My God, what's wrong with you? Love that item. You don't like Pig Pole either, do you?
I think it's less egregious than Tumblr's Toy. And it's the same with this, right? Like, there's just certain heroes where getting free mobility is just inherently insanely powerful on, right? Like, when you get Tumblr's Toy on some 4s, you feel way stronger. Like, you get it on Marcy, you get it on Shaker, you get it on... I'm missing a couple here. There's more. Okay, they're just not all coming to mind. It's just, that's the idea, right? That some heroes... just on top of obviously the flat mana that item gives, right?
I'm coming to the point of my life where I feel like anytime you don't like a neutral item, it means it's good. That's my association now. So I will definitely try this out in game. Thank you for that, Cinderin.
Okay, so what I will say is I think it's probably really fun to play with. It's going to create moments, right? And people love that in their games when funny shit happens. But those two things are not connected. Like,
now, the 150 damage is each flop, so it happens twice.
I think yeah. I believe.
Okay.
I don't know how easy it is to hit people twice though, because the jumping distance is like 200 range. But maybe you can hit them twice. But yeah, there's to me, I always look at things, or mostly look at things with the perspective of is it fair rather than is it fun, and those two things are sometimes difficult to combine. Because this item is hilarious. Like, don't get me wrong, it sounds super fun, but I don't know if it's balanced, right? I have that competitive mindset around these things.
Get that out of your brain.
For
this is great
play,
for the game.
It's fun as fuck. Like,
I remember you said the same thing to some degree about pig pull, and we had some great pig pull times at TI. Yeah.
Again, like I said, I just think it's less egregious, right? It's 10% move speed. It's not like this is not 10% move speed. It's also a tier 3 item, to be fair, but it's quite.
All right, moving on.
And it's replacing an item that kind of did this to an extent, which is spider legs, just removed.
Well, I want to look at how many neutral items, because they got rid of Essence Ring, Fagran, and Quicksilver were tier 2, right? And they got rid of. Are they actually? Did they keep it even?
They effectively removed.
They added a tier.
No,
they added a tier 3 and did not add any. Did not remove any tier 3, right?
They did. They removed spider legs.
Oh. Okay, I wasn't
They kept the numbers even,
and
then they removed the leveler and add Havoc Hammer, which we haven't got to.
All right, okay, sorry. I'm an idiot. Paladin Sword, Lifesteal now affects creeps by 50% of its value, so it's 8%. Spider Legs removed. Leveler removed. Havoc Hammer returns. Thank God. I love that. I don't know why this has ever gotten rid of. You know me, these strength heroes fucking love this item. Great.
Do you think this item is good as a tier 4?
It's like a tier 3.5 probably.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it too. So I think this should be a tier 3 item and then have the numbers nerfed.
Or just buff it as a tier 4.
How about this? I have an idea, Shannon. How about Havoc Hammer, tier 3 item, you nerf the values, and then you make Ogre Seal Totem a tier 4 item, and then you buff the values. How about that?
Sure. That's fine by me. I love Havoc Hammer. So for those that don't remember, Havoc Hammer gives 12 damage, 12 strength, and it has an active, only a cooldown of 10 seconds. It deals, let's see, it slows enemies in a 400 range by 50% for 3 seconds, and it deals 175 plus 1 times your strength as magical damage, which, as you can tell, that's why I like it. But it pushes them back.
That low, it might actually be fair that it's a tier 4 item. That is pretty strong.
Did they change it? I don't remember what the cooldown was before.
I feel like this wasn't always 10. I feel like it was 18 at one point.
Maybe.
Or 20 or something.
All right, and then the last two, tier 5 items. Ex Machina mana cost increased from 0 to 350. Whoo! And Mirror Shield.
Refresher, bro.
Mirror Shield nerfed cooldown increased from 8 seconds to 12 seconds. I feel like this was an item you could probably have gotten rid of, if I'm being honest, and replaced it with something else.
Ex Machina and Mirror Shield. I think you could get rid of both.
I mean, Ex Machina 350 mana.
How about you just get rid of all the fucking items? How about that?
Okay, that's a little too extreme.
Okay. I know you're a huge fan of tier 5 items, right? So I understand you're very biased for them.
Yes, oops.
What would you think, like, do you think it's fair how they end games?
Do I think it's... No, that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it fun.
So do you think the game would be... I mean, okay, you can't answer this question, I guess. Like, I personally feel like if neutral items need to exist, I think tier 5 should be removed entirely. Or completely removed.
Oh, but they're so exciting.
So, yeah, but here's the problem. Because they're so exciting and because they have to be so crazy, you can't balance this tier. That's the problem.
Yeah.
These items across all tiers, like, let's say you could rate the items in the tier in terms of how fair they are on a scale from 1 to 10. Like, I think tier 1s and tier 2s over the last year or two, we got toward a point where it's like, in fairness, they're maybe like an 8 or 9. I think tier 5s are like a literal fucking 1 in how fair they are. It's like completely crazy how differently good these items are in different heroes.
Okay, I'm going to say this. I think that you're overselling it a bit. I think in most cases, the team... So first of all, the reason this is good for the whole of Dota is because this is going to encompass about 90% of these games that go 60 minutes. One team is ahead, and they just can't go high ground. They have control of the jungle. They get these items, and then they win the game. That's what happens most of the time. How often do you think it happens where it's a back and forth and these items literally decide the game? I would argue that it's not that high of a percentage of time. I don't think that happens very often. You might remember them because of confirmation bias.
well, essentially what it does then, from that perspective, is that it just makes the team that's ahead win by default. That's also not great. You want people to come back late game.
Not if it's that long of a game. And the fucking game at some point. Jesus Christ.
All right. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I've like slowly learned to live with these items, and I know I'm one of the biggest haters. I'm probably not actually, but no, I'm vocally against these items. But I just think for me, tier 5 is just way too crazy. But if they're not that crazy, it's not interesting as well, right? Like when you look at the gradual increase of all the other items and how they're better than the previous tier on average, etc., it's kind of like, a gradual increase. And then how do you go beyond that and make it meaningful without making it crazy? It's just, I just struggle to see how you do that. So,
well,
yeah.
The only way to do that theoretically would be to give both teams the same tier 5 items.
Yeah, but even then, again, there's just some of the items are just inherently ridiculously powerful on some heroes, right? Even that isn't fair. I also don't think that's a good design for neutral items in general, because it was suggested in the early stages of these items, people were like, remove the RNG element, just give both teams the same items. I also don't think that's interesting, because then, like, again, certain heroes will just be better on average than the others because they use more of the neutral items better. You can argue that's still the same case when they drop randomly, right? But at least it's more interesting and exciting and more about adaptability than just, okay,
so
you always get these items.
One thing to wrap this up, I just noticed, it's definitely, you guys can't fully see it, but it's not even with each tier. So tier 1 has 10 items, tier 2 has 12, tier 3 has 11, tier 4 11, and tier 5 12. Do you think there's a reason why they're not the same amount per tier? It's kind of random, right?
I think probably with tier 1s, you're struggling to come up with enough ideas that aren't too powerful at that time, right? Like, you can only tweak so many things.
Well, but they could have just kept some of them in the game.
They could, yeah. But I do think, maybe you could have kept Ocean Heart. I think removing Keen Optic and Chip Vest is fine. But you probably don't want to keep Ocean Heart because you're like, it's too similar to a Colt Bracer, right? I don't know.
All right. Either way.
I understand that it's hard to make a lot of tier 1s.
Okay, so let's get on to our SAP segment, and then we'll do heroes, and the heroes will not be as long as this. We will go faster. I will make Cinder and go faster. Anyway, playing Dota 2 requires skills like multitasking, pattern recognition, strategizing, leadership, and social skills. SAP is looking for exactly those skill sets in various areas like development and technology, sales, and consulting. Put your stamp on SAP's market-leading portfolio used by 94% of the world's 500 largest companies and bring your skills to work with the latest technologies. Join a dynamic and diverse group of people and develop your career. Check out SAP's open positions at jobs.sap.com or by simply clicking the link in the description of the video. Let me just switch things here.
There's a very good chance that if you're under education at university level, or if you have a complete education, that there's something that could interest you.
Yes.
It's a pretty wide umbrella of things that they're looking for. So check it out.
All right. What's our score? 3-2. I'm winning?
Yeah.
All right. First question, Cinderin.
Okay.
In the last 2 patches.
Oh!
That's right. It's not all time.
Okay.
Switching it up.
Okay.
Who has the lowest win percentage when no Aghanim Scepter is purchased? Primal Beast.
On that hero.
Primal Beast does not count. Yes.
Right. Okay.
So 2 most recent patches. Who has the lowest win rate when no Ags is purchased by them? Okay. Is it Spectre with the mini haunt? Is it Bristleback with his AoE goo? Is it Brewmaster, which we'll talk about later, but obviously the new one doesn't really take effect, so it's the double ult, 2 charges or whatever? Or is it Huskar with the taunt on his ult?
These are some really good options you found. These have all got to be really far down.
Yes, they are.
They might even be the bottom 4.
They indeed are.
I was like, these all really want their eggs to be good. Shit, which one is worst when it doesn't have it?
Spectre, Bristle, Brew, Huskar.
I'm gonna go with Brewmaster.
Spectre.
It was the obvious one.
It was actually in order of the win rate from lowest to highest. So Huskar, 31% win rate. Brew, 29.
31?
Yes. Bristle.
What?
Bristle, 27. And Spectre, 25% win rate when no Ags is purchased in the last two patches.
How many games is this?
I don't know. I closed the window.
That is 25%. That's pretty fucking garbage, to be honest. That's really bad.
That's right. That is
no way, man.
That was Spectre.
That's insane.
All right, your turn.
Holy shit. All right. So my question is since 7.07, so it's a lot older than yours.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah.
Which hero has the lowest win rate, not counting Primal Beast? So again, another negative one here.
Okay.
Primal Beast doesn't count. He is the lowest currently in ticketed games.
Yeah, okay.
Not 0-4. He has like 16% win rate or something. So he probably got picked in some other tournament that was ticketed yesterday.
Okay, good.
And won there. Okay, so which hero has the lowest win rate since 707? Is it A, Underlord, B, Axe, C, Silencer, or D, Bristleback?
Ooh, these are good. It's got to be Silencer or Axe. Good, Silencer's so bad. Axe was pretty shit for a while. I feel like Silencer is the obvious one, though. Is this another red herring? So 7.07.
I'll give you some more information. They are the bottom four.
Okay.
Except Primal Beast. Primal Beast is the worst.
Silencer. I've already narrowed it in my head to these two, which means I'm probably going to be wrong already. I'm going to say Silencer.
That is incorrect.
Was it Axe?
Would you like a second guess? That doesn't count.
It wasn't Axe then.
Yes, it was Axe.
Fuck! Damn it!
And you were right. They were the two worst. So you just got them in wrong order. Axe is number 1 worst win rate. Silencer number 2. Underlord number 3. And Bristleback number 4.
Wait, what was the win rate?
I need to look that up. So Axe since 7.07, 45.05% win rate.
Yeah.
Silencer is 45.43. Underlord is 45.56.
Damn.
And Bristle is 45.58. And if I'm honest with you, I think Bristle might have had the worst win rate until this patch. Actually, he might have overtaken it because he got good now.
He got good real quick. That's true.
Yeah, he started to get a lot of wins lately. So maybe he was even worse than X.
All right, so we remain 3-2. Very exciting stuff. So last week's question that we asked you guys, which hero has the highest rate of getting first blood when played? The correct answer was Juggernaut.
Well, we both would have picked it, but you didn't because I said it first.
That is correct.
But that was also your guess.
I'll let you have it, though. Out of the 90,000 ticketed games since patch 7.00, 16.9%. Wait, what does this percentage mean? In 11,000.
It means that in Jugger's game, he gets first blood 17% of the time.
Oh, okay. The hero with the most first bloods is Rubik with 2,200, but we were going with the rate in which they get first blood. So Juggernaut, actually not that big of a surprise, like you said. The lowest rate of first blood was Lycan, only 184.
What's his percentage?
4.3% rate.
I mean, he's really fucking mad at getting first blood, though.
8 people had it right. So congrats to Durlarks, Cayman.
Thank you guys for picking mine.
Dionatus, Kendrick, Joven maybe, Alina, 8, Ski, Purek, and Petter Halberg. Congratulations. I picked Gyro technically, so Cinderin, again, got it correct because he picked first.
Did they tell you what the Gyro placement was?
No, it was probably... Oh, actually, that's true. They did, didn't they? I thought they did. Maybe not. I think Gyro was... No, they didn't.
Must have been up pretty high, too.
Must have been pretty bad because they didn't mention it, yeah.
Oh.
So next week's question...
They just don't tell you so you don't feel good about yourself.
Yeah. Next week's question comes from Games for Falling Asleep, who asks, how many unique combinations of 10 heroes have been played ever? So this is out of...
Oh my god!
This is since May of 2012, so this is out of 129,769 games. It does not matter on which faction, so it doesn't matter if it's Radiant or Dire, what the heroes
we're only
were.
using ticketed games. Okay, I thought we were using all games. I'm like,
how many unique combinations of 10 heroes have been played ever? So put your answer in the comments, hashtag SAP space, and then what you think. Cinder, do you have a guess on this one?
How many total games did you say it was? 120,000?
129,000 plus.
10 unique heroes. Huh. I'll say 115K.
Okay. I'm going to say
even too low?
I'm going to say
I'll say 120. 120.
I'm going to say 129,000. So the full number is 129,769. I'm cutting off the 769.
Yeah, I'm probably way too low actually.
Hang
on. So, but when it says 10 unique heroes, it means that both teams have these 10 heroes in any constellation on both sides, right?
Yes.
So it's just the same 10 heroes need to be in the game.
Yes.
And with what I said, I effectively say that happens in 90-something% of games. 98. I'm changing it. 125K.
You're changing now, huh?
Final answer, 125K.
All
I think
right.
you're still probably going to be close.
I'll say 129K. All right, so let us know in the comments what you think.
Okay, I thought this was going to be of all time in all games. Because how many Dota games have been played? It's a lot. It's a
many
billion
lifetimes.
Number, right? It's a number of billion.
Anyway, put your answer in the comments, and we'll see what the answer is next week. Thank you again to SAP. All right, back to the patch. So heroes for 7.32. We're going to be skipping a bunch, I'm sure. Tell me which hero you want to talk about first, Cinderin. Just going to go down the line.
Yeah, let's just...
I can mention some things, and then, like Abaddon, borrowed time for the Scepter. The AoE is reduced from 1,600 to 1,200. That's the biggest change.
Yeah, I feel like if we go over changes of that size, we're going to be talking about every hero.
Okay.
So I think it should be either heroes that have a new spell, a reworked spell, or like fundamentally are very different.
Ags or Shard.
Yeah, that too.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, Alchemist counts technically. Giving an Aghanim Scepter to an ally now grants Alchemist bonus damage and Spell Amp, even if Alchemist doesn't have one yet.
Yeah.
So...
just a flat buff.
Yeah, it's just a complete buff for a hero that was picked quite a bit. So the fact that this is incentivizing Ags giving makes me happy. So glad to see it.
I want to mention Axe. I just misclicked though, so I got out of it. Okay, here we are. So Axe lost a lot of stat gain. He lost 0.6 strength gain and 0.2 agi gain, which is quite a lot. It's a lot of health and armor. But the trade-off is that basically all his spells got better. So he got lower cast point on Berserker's Call, 0.4 to 0.3. Battle Hunger is better on lower levels and slow. Counter Helix max stacks increased from 5 to 6. And shard damage reduction decreased, so that's... Yeah. I guess it's more damage, but less per stack, but still total is the same. And then Calling Blade gets more cast range. And he gets some talent changes. He gets armor instead of mono regen on level 10.
I'm adding an amendment to what we're reading, okay? If there's a cool talent, I'm going to talk about it. So I'm going to go back up to Alchemist, which his Acid Spray at, what is it? At level 15, you can choose Acid Spray also grants armor to allies. Pretty fucking cool. That sounds really strong, by the way. Really strong.
That's really good, actually.
Okay, back down. Let's see. What's next?
Batrider. They've reworked Sticky Napalm.
You missed Bane's talents.
Did I? Oh,
level 10 talent. Nightmare damage heals Bane, and this includes attack damage dealt to Bane onto Nightmare allies. So, does that include Brain Saps as well? Do you double heal on Brain Saps?
No, I don't think so. No.
Okay.
I would assume it doesn't. And then the magic resistance talent got replaced with plus 20% and feeble cast range reduction.
Not interesting. Not interesting.
It's like you were choosing between two tankiness talents, and now you're choosing between two spell-based talents, which is good. We want more spell-based talents. But cast range reduction, can we just okay.
Yep. That's your neutral item.
Batrider. Batrider. So Sticky Napalm now works differently. It still stacks like it used to. The stacks do a little bit less damage, but now Sticky Napalm itself also deals damage, which means you can use Sticky Napalm to prevent heroes from blinking. After level 1 of Napalm, it's enough damage to cancel blink. It lasts slightly shorter, and it has smaller AoE on higher levels. It used to scale. Now it has the level 1 AoE on all levels. and now Shard applies Sticky Napalm every second attack. So essentially what this does is it makes Batrider a better laner, because Sticky Napalm, you keep spamming it on enemy heroes for damage, and you don't have to Firefly or Flame Break to deal damage. But in team fights, it will arguably be worse, because it's harder to hit multiple enemy heroes in the team and get that value out of it when you're chasing multiple heroes. For jungling, it shouldn't really matter. I think the AoE is big enough to
this overall feels
cover
like
camp.
a pretty sizable buff to me.
For laning specifically, but I don't know how good the trade-off is. There's a couple of teams that tried running it yesterday without too much success, I would say, but it's too early to say.
Yeah. Okay, Beastmaster had a bunch of changes. I'll talk about his new Ags, I guess. Drums of Slom. So the old Ags was the no cooldown on axes. So instead you get this new ability, Drums of Slom. Beastmaster starts hitting his drums with ever-increasing speed. Each strike deals 110 damage to enemies in a 600 radius, healing him and units under his control for 25% of the damage dealt to heroes and 5% of the damage dealt to creeps. Drum hits deal no damage and don't heal Beastmaster if he's stunned or silenced. Duration is 6 seconds. Cooldown 50 seconds, mana cost 100. Kind of weird.
How many times does he bang the drum?
Doesn't say. It says it lasts 6 seconds.
It says he does it with ever increasing speed. What the hell does this mean? Is this 10,000 damage or 500?
Let me see if I can read the tooltip here.
I don't know.
Sure, it'll say here, yeah. Does not say, wait. Nope, does not say anything in the tooltip. So, yeah, I'm not sure. Not sure.
This Ags is very good or bad. I don't know, Shane. I guess we'll find out.
Okay, good. Next.
I assume this is something you buy after you have BKB, because then you can prevent yourself from getting stunned and silenced, and you get value out of the drums in the fights, I think. Probably. Okay. They also changed the Shard, right? So instead of the Hawks stunning and having a single target, you can put them on autocast, and then they will instantly fly to the nearest viable target, even if the Hawk is currently moving. And then instead of stunning for 2 seconds, it now roots for 2.5.
So when I read that first half, I'm like, this is beyond broken. Just stunning people without having to look at anything, right? That's how, am I thinking of it correctly, how it works?
It will dive to the first viable target, so that's a hero or an illusion, right?
So if you leave it there and you have it toggled, it will just, if somebody walks in range, it'll do that. But now it doesn't stun, so that makes it...
It roots instead.
Yeah. Okay. Bloodseeker, the Shard was slightly nerfed, but of course we're going to talk about his Ags, Blood Mist, which we haven't seen yet because it's so bad. Movement speed has been... or the slow has been increased from 25% to 30%, and it no longer damages Bloodseeker through spell immunity. So it's just like these small things added on top. At what point
is good with BKB, I guess.
will this be good?
But again, the problem is
spell
the role this hero gets played in, right? Right now, he's more or less only played as carry. I just think you want damage items, right? Do you really want to buy Ags? I mean, now you can at least use it when you get it from Roche. So that's something. But,
yeah, true.
I mean, maybe it's starting to get so good that it's worth buying. We'll see.
All right. Very cool change.
Shard for bounty.
Yeah, love this.
So the old Shard gave you 35% damage reduction when you were invis and got attacked.
And it stunned out of Shadow Walk.
And you stunned for a second when you attacked. It doesn't do that anymore. Instead, you get 2 charges on Shadow Walk, and you can cast them on allies.
Fucking cool. So cool.
This sounds really, really fun for playing with friends. Like, you can just move around as a ganking squad, and you take any hero with you for Shadow Walk. And also, I'm assuming it works like regular Shadow Walk, so that means they get the bonus damage out of Invis as well. And that's really meaningful on some heroes. So heroes that have a toggleable crit, like Tusk, or a toggleable cleave, like Kunkka. This sounds like a very strong pairing with that, and really fun. I mean, this might actually be totally insane with Tusk, but... how do you do it? So you tag team, you snowball in tag team, and then Bounty Hunter uses Shadow Walk on you, and then you ult.
So one quality of life that we didn't mention is that you can use this while staying invis, so that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I'm not sure of, the 15 talent was changed so that you can get, if you choose for it, 2-second silence on hit with Shadow Walk. I don't know if that works on teammates, though.
Probably not.
It's your talent, but you're
Talents,
casting
yeah, it should
your
be yours.
ability on them.
Yeah.
So it might work. But if it's like other skills, then I would expect it not to.
Don't think it will.
All right, next, Brewmaster. Thank God, by the way, for this. I don't know if it's good or bad or whatever, but I hated the way Brewmaster, I've talked about this before, absolutely hated that you're just pigeonholed and going Ags, you get 2 charges, you get Refresher. It's like boring as fuck. It's like just weird. It's such a weird concept for such a cool design originally for this hero. So now, Ags is completely gone, reworked, gives you Primal Companion now. Primal Companion creates a primal split Brewling based on your Brewmaster's current Drunken Brawler stance. If the Brewling moves further than a 1600 range away from Brewmaster, it's silenced and slowed by 50%. If the Brewling takes damage from heroes or hero-controlled units, a new one cannot be summoned for 3 seconds. If the created Brewling is killed, the ability goes on cooldown for 70 seconds. Only one Brewling can exist at one time. All Brewling's abilities have a doubled cooldown when summoned with Primal Companion. If Brewmaster uses Primal Split, the existing Brewling disappears. Cooldown 20 seconds. Mana cost 50. So the idea is you're always going to have this companion with you, and you can choose which one you want. It's kind of like having a mini ult all the time, which I think is a cool idea. I doubt it's good, but you can tell me if I'm wrong.
That's my concern. I just don't think it's very good. And on top of that, the final part is Primal Split Brewlings now don't refresh their abilities if they get resummoned.
Does that matter?
Will be on cooldown. It does, because it means that if you use Primal Companion and it dies, or it has used a spell and then you split, that companion in the split will have cooldown, right? So let's say you, for example, throw a rock and then you split. I think the Earth Panda doesn't have the rock to begin with.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I was thinking more of refresher later. Like when you're using your ults repeatedly, they don't.
Unless I'm misunderstanding this, I think you can't. So, I mean, I will say this is just hands down worse than the old one in terms of impact in the game. And the problem is the only reason Brewmaster was relevant was the old one. So I don't know if this hero is even good in general anymore, because the one thing that he was pigeonholed into got removed, and he didn't really get buffed in any other aspect. He didn't get like base stats or the good old Dota 1 combat build where you're using Drunken Brawler and you're going damage items in BKB. Like, that doesn't really seem feasible. So to me right now, when I read this, the hero is kind of just dead competitively, which I think is a shame, right? We want the heroes to be viable and be played.
Yeah, but I think conceptually, once this gets buffed, if we're in agreement that it's nerfed right now, not good right now, I think it's a cool concept. And I was thinking,
the idea is interesting.
Like, if you get the Fire Panda, you can just push waves and farm from the other side of the map. It doesn't matter if it's slowed or silenced. All it needs to do is damage, right? It has an immolation, so that's something.
And you can cycle them, right? It's 20-second cooldown, so you can use the Fire Panda, and then if the Fire Panda gets killed, you can still summon the Earth Panda, right? Well, the ability goes on cooldown.
Yeah, you don't want it to get killed.
Yeah.
So it's almost like having it's like a mini bear from Lone Druid, except it costs 4,200 and it's worse. Right? It's just objectively worse.
And if you are sending the Fire Panda to the other side of the map, as soon as he's 1,600 range away from you, he's slowed by 50%. So he's not going to get there in time.
Yeah, so I agree. It's definitely not good. I'd be shocked if it is. But conceptually, I like it. I like it a lot.
I think in Immortal and higher, this hero will have the biggest drop-off in win rate this entire patch. That's my guess. I think he's just absolutely going to suck, unfortunately. But I could be wrong. It's happened before.
Okay. Bristle. Scepter radius for Viscous Nasal Goo change from 800 to whatever the current cast range on Viscous Nasal Goo is, what is that by default?
Nerf, right?
Is that 600? 650.
I think it's 650.
So it's a 150
and then on level
nerf.
15 you can, but on 15 you can take a talent that gives it 150 range, but then you don't get the 20 attack speed that you did before.
Right.
So you're just getting weaker, and you lost Warpath damage. He's definitely just flat out nerfed, and the 25 talent is mega nerfed, and it needed to be. That one was so broken.
Yeah.
Warpath damage per stack decreased from plus 25 to plus 18. It's nerfed by a third, which is or a quarter, I guess. It's a really big nerf.
Okay, Broodmother. Shard has been changed. I think Shard was Silken Bola, right? Wait.
Yes.
Why does he still have...
No, that's a spell.
That was...
The Shard was...
Wait, it was AoE Silken Bola.
Yes, correct.
So now Shard for Brood increases the duration of Insatiable Hunger by 2 seconds, and while it's active, your bonus damage is increased by 12 every 1 second. That's pretty cool. I was just checking to see if it's dispellable, and it's not still. And basically,
I don't know if this has been changed, Shannon, but if you play Brood with Coddle and you keep spamming Chakra, Brood can get 10,000 damage with Insatiable Hunger. Because the duration is shorter than the cooldown if you get Chakra.
Oh, shit.
If that still works, that is very broken.
Oh, that sounds good. I like that combo. So,
that,
something we're not going to mention every time, but a lot of stuff they did was sometimes with talent, sometimes with shards, they kind of implemented them into the talent system instead, which is kind of what it is the case for Silken Bola in this case, where you get the AoE at 20, for example, if you want that old shard. Centaur, my boy, the hero of the patch, ladies and gentlemen. I have been waiting God knows how long, ever since Stampede Stunned. That was his one shining moment into the scene, and then they nerfed the shit out of it, and then he came back with a vengeance with the Manta-style build onto buildings, and then they quote-unquote fixed the bug, even though it was in the game for fucking a decade at that point, and now he's been in the fucking dumpster. He's been a boring piece of shit until now. First, let's get rid of the boring stuff, which is actually more impactful than the other stuff I want to talk about. Base armor decreased by 3, big deal, but his base health regen increased from 0.25 to 4! 4! There's no hero, surely, that has a higher HP regen base.
I don't think so. He's the absolute best, Shannon.
God, he's the best! All right, and on top of that, they nerf Retaliate, sadly. Stampede is slightly worse, although the slow lasts longer. But the big news... The big news is his scepter, which was really good before, is now terrible but hilarious, okay? It is called Hitch a Ride. You get a new ability called Hitch a Ride. Centaur tosses an ally into a cart hitched behind him. It looks just as stupid as it sounds. While in the cart, the ally can still cast and attack normally, but cannot move independently or be targeted by opponents. Non-target effects can still affect the hitched ally. Increases the attack range of hitched melee heroes by 200. Mana cost is 75, cooldown is 60, duration is 8, and cast range 300. So the reason, and I'm sure you guys have seen the videos, the reason this is really cool in theory is because I think it's good in 2 scenarios. Number 1, on heroes with channeling ability. So like Black Hole, I think Crystal Maiden might be the best though. You just stampede in while she's hitched to you, and you just get a full CM ult. She can't be targeted. She can be stunned if it's AoE, so it's like Shadow Realm kind of. Yeah. So really strong in that scenario, and like same with like Black Hole. Black Hole will stay where it is even though you're going away from it if you want. And I think also with range carries, it's exceptionally strong. We've seen it on Invoker even. That's not a range carry, but still. So, in theory, could be strong. In practice, a heaping pile of shit. Cinderin, I'll finally let you talk.
I guess the other aspect you didn't talk about is that you can use it as a save, right?
Yes, theoretically.
If somebody's low, you can stampede in, you blink, you pick them up in your cart, and you run away.
Yes.
So, it has it's a hybrid ability. This screams Sir Action Slacks to me. I bet it's his idea. I would really not be surprised that he came up with this. Maybe he didn't, but it's like, what was the other Ags idea he had? The Lycan Wolf Bite, where you bite an ally, right?
That's right.
He comes up with this weird shit, this guy. His brain either doesn't work or works in a way that
we'll give him credit for it, even though he definitely did not come up with it.
I don't know. It's just such a Slacksy idea.
So one thing, when I tested this yesterday, I was using Blink full range and it was working. I'm like, holy shit, this is amazing. You hitch somebody and you blink in with them. Yeah. I guess they hot fixed it. There's no patch notes that I saw of, but apparently it breaks if you go more than 600 distance. So it has to be like a 4-staff.
It's very random. So it should be written somewhere.
It should be. First of all, the old Ags was quite good. It gave 30% damage reduction. And the thing that I was missing today in my Centaur game was terrain walking, like in the Roche pits, like really fucking good. And it lasts a second longer for Stampede. I think this is objectively just worse. It's very situational, usually garbage, but hilarious. I will say I was laughing my ass off because when it works, it makes your whole game, like me losing the game, I don't give a shit. You know what I did today? It was so bad. It was so... Okay. I'm not going to do this for any of the heroes, but obviously I care about Centaur Syndrome. We were playing a game. Nobody picked a good hero because CM kept getting fucking banned, so we had to get Enigma, okay? Which is good. and I was playing with a friend who hasn't played in a while. He had no idea what was going on, so I'd hitch him and I would run him in, but he already has a blink BKB. He's like, why are you doing that? I just rather blink BKB, to the point where he didn't want me to hitch him anymore. And if I couldn't hitch him, I couldn't hitch anybody else. You know what I did? I sold the fucking item to buy a blink dagger anyway, because I bypassed the blink. And I don't know, man. It feels pretty bad, but when it works, it makes your whole day brighter, you know? So I'm okay with it.
So it's kind of, it's the thing I talked about before, where this is a spell that creates moments, but is it balanced? Probably not, right? Because most situations it's pretty bad, and then some situations it's ridiculous. So
yeah,
it's really funny, though. I'll say that. I've seen some of the clips. It's really fucking funny. Did you see the bug with Snapfire? That was my favorite clip. So you put Snapfire in the cart, and then she gobbles you up, and you literally spun off into the distance like Team Rocket blasting off.
Hey, you just go into the skybox.
Spun up into the sky until one expired. That was hilarious. On the real, though, the more important thing with this hero is, like you said, the first 2 lines that we didn't talk about at all.
I talked slightly.
He loses 3 armor and he gains 3.75 regen. And effectively, in my opinion, this is a buff. It makes him a better laner, because what you can do is you can go to lane with 2 rings of protection. And buying 4 armor is cheaper than buying 4 health regen, but you only lost 3 armor and you almost get 4 health regen. So, the math. You just go to lane, Quelling Blade, 2 rings of protection, a Tango Pack, 2 branches, and you're pretty hard to harass out of lane compared to before, where, yeah, you might have had more armor, but spells would harass you out of lane. Certain heroes could harass you out of lane in different ways. Now, you compensate for that minus armor, and you start with amazing regen, and maybe there's a world where you don't have to go Vanguard. Like, maybe you can actually skip that because you have the HP regen in another way, and maybe you can go like double ring protection, phase boots, blink rush.
Yeah, you can go Ags first. Fuck yeah.
And like, if you can progress this hero's item timings, he can have a lot more impact. Like, the problem in the past, in my opinion, was you kind of felt like you had to go Vanguard and Hood a lot of the time, or at least one of them. Maybe with this, there's a different route that you can consider.
Yeah.
And even if you do go the same route, you're just a better laner. So it feels really good.
I have
you
a
can
prediction.
even go to lane with chainmail, by the way, and rush phase boots. Go chainmail, and your ally buys you tangos. And then
I didn't really feel like I need a regen.
with armor.
I just was used to buying it. I have a prediction for Hitch a Ride. Back to the subject again. I think that they will realize that it's not good because nobody's going to buy it in competitive, and they will add the terrain walking to it, which was in the old Ags.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that makes it good necessarily, but it certainly makes it better. So
I believe it was also bugged. I don't know if that's been fixed, but apparently it didn't work on Chrono, which was absurd. So you could be in Chronosphere as the target in the cart, and you could still attack and cast spells.
Yeah, that should be intended, of course.
So this cart actually overrode time standing still.
I think
literally
that they just haven't written the lore yet. Obviously, Hitch a Ride is something from another galaxy, far beyond anything we can comprehend, that just overtakes everything in the game. It makes sense.
Okay, but why doesn't it overtake Lena Stun then, but it overtakes Chrono?
Well, Lena has fire, okay?
Okay, that checks out. That's good enough for me.
And I believe Void might be a bitch, so that might be why. Centaur doesn't like him.
There it is.
All right, moving
on.
All right,
let's move on to Chen. So Chen's scepter is different. The old scepter, what was it exactly the old scepter did?
It was the 25 talent now. Hand of God applies a strong dispel.
Yeah. That's right. So you could get Scepter to a strong dispel. Instead, now when you get Scepter, you get an ability called Martyrdom on Chen, which, You thought of this idea?
Well, half of it. We talked about it on a cast. It was either me or you or me and Jenkins, where you can sacrifice your creeps.
Yes. So you get an 8-second cooldown ability that all your controlled creeps have, where they can globally kill themselves to heal an allied hero. For the exact amount that Hand of God does. So basically, when you're whatever level you are and you have the scepter, you have your basic Hand of God, which is as usual, nothing changed there. And then on top of that, you can also use the other Hand of God. So effectively, when you get the scepter, you have a double Hand of God for one target instantly. And then every 8 seconds thereafter, you have another single target Hand of God. Which, this sounds really powerful. Like, especially if the enemy team doesn't have healing reduction or if your target is BKB'd, you'd guaranteed land 2 Hands of God. I don't know if the healing over time stacks or replaces, but even if it doesn't stack, it's still really powerful to get those 2 instant heals in.
Why wouldn't it stack? It's just health regen. It actually wouldn't make sense for it to not stack, I feel.
I don't know. I don't know if it's Dex. But whether or not it's Dex, it's still good, I think. And then, like you said, the 25 talent plus 3 units persuaded got changed with Hand of God applies a strong dispel, which means when you hit 25 on Chen, you have a full team hard dispel in your ult, and then you have a single target hard dispel globally on an 8-second cooldown, which is fucking insane while it still heals as well. But you need to reach level 25 on Chen, and that doesn't happen, so therefore it's irrelevant. So because it got way harder to reach level 25 now.
Okay.
And your Chen.
This is the bigger deal, Cinder. Obviously, the single target heals great, but the death throws, because this is what I was imagining, Hellbear Smasher and Hellbear, okay? 50% base attack damage bonus for everybody in the area for 5 seconds, or 100 attack speed for 5 seconds by
you can
sacrificing your
them
creeps.
In and just sack those.
I'm telling you, this ads
that's pretty wild.
It's fucking crazy, man. But you have to be so good at micro. It's so cool, the idea, though. I love it.
And you have to farm an Ags on Chen.
I love it because it's my idea, of course. I'm just narcissistic and whatnot, but it's cool.
Okay. There's a couple of other things. Let's not talk about everything. There's a lot of talent changes that are different and stuff, but
yeah, we can move on.
For literally ever.
Clockwork.
Just quickly mentioning Clinks, just because I think Clinks had the biggest increase in win rate in Immortal yesterday. Burning Barrage shoots 6 arrows on all levels instead of 3, 4, 5, 6, and then they do less damage on lower levels. But the channel time is now a flat 2 instead of 1.2 to 2.4 on max level, which means on the highest level it's just a flat out better spell, and on lower levels you do way more damage if the target is stunned and you can hit all the arrows. So it's just a better hero. Like, it's just stronger.
Yeah.
So interesting to see where that goes.
But Clockwork,
the new Clock Hags, dude, I have to play this.
I know.
I have to play this shit. I haven't played
So
Clock
the cool
yet,
thing about this, before you explain it, is it's actually overclocking. If you think of how overclocking works, the old one is just a refresher, basically, right?
Yep, exactly.
Go ahead.
So the old one, you would overclock, you would refresh all your cooldowns, and then you would get move speed and attack speed, and then after X seconds, you would get stunned for 4, I think. The new one empowers all of your different abilities. It does not refresh them, but they get extra abilities. So Battery Assault will stun and damage all targets in the radius instead of one random target. The Power Cogs will give you 250 attack speed while you're inside. And Rocket Flare, which I think maybe in some ways is the best part of this, to be honest. Rocket Flare gets a 3-second cooldown, and it shoots 2 additional flares to either side of the targeting area. So it effectively hits the entire team fight on a 3-second cooldown, and overclocking lasts for 13. So let's do some math here, okay? When it expires, by the way, it gets done for 3 seconds against the old 4, and it's a 50-second cooldown. When you cast this, you can Rocket Flare instantly, then you can Rocket Flare second 4, you can Rocket Flare second 7, you can Rocket Flare second 10, and you can Rocket Flare second 13. So you can fire 5 Rocket Flares while you're overclocking. And I know Rocket Flare doesn't deal the most...
though, but yeah.
You will, because if you cast the first one instantly, right, then the first one is on second 0, actually, right?
Okay.
You overclock Rocket, and then Rocket. You can get, okay, let's say you can get a theoretical 5 off, and unless you're stunned, you will definitely get 4 off, okay? That is in a team fight. Rocket Flare deals 200 damage, but you're going to hit the entire fight. And I don't know if you could potentially hit heroes multiple times with one cast, if there's like an overlap spot, you know what I mean? Where the circles like connect. I don't know if they overlap or if it is, I haven't checked that yet. But either way, this is a lot of damage that you can do. Even if you can't hit heroes more than once, you'll hit everyone a lot of times, do a lot of damage. And you have this attack speed, which opens up for an interesting item build on Clockwork, where you can go Ags and actually buy damage. Because this is so strong for so long, like 13 seconds of 250 attack speed. You guys have seen how fast Maiden attacks when she gets the 200 attack speed on level 20. Put that on Clock, you know?
One of the coolest Ags in the game, for sure, though.
It sounds really fucking fun. Yeah. It sounds really fun, and just no matter which direction you go in with your build, this will be powerful. So it will feel good to buy.
Yeah.
Very strong. All right. Like it. On to Maiden. She no longer restores mana when casting spells, but the aura is better aside from that. You get an extra multiplier on it for yourself with how much it gives, and it's rescaled slightly to give a little bit less mana, but it's still, let's see. So it's actually the same on you regardless, but if you're within 1200 range of Maiden, you get double the regen as an ally. So it's way better for her laning partner than it was before. and the same for her. That's pretty much it.
Okay. Darkseer.
Pretty big change there. So his old shard was the normal punch, which is now the Ags. So he no longer has the 2 Ion Shell charges except in talents.
Yeah.
Instead, now Surge gives you... This is kind of cool. So if you're Surged, whether it's yourself or an ally, they leave a trail behind them in 150 radius that lasts for 7 seconds. And that trail slows enemies by 50% and deals 35 DPS. 70 DPS. It's 35 damage every 0.5 seconds. Which means that you, instead of having like the 2 Ion Shell charges that you would put on allies with the eggs, you might want to go for the shard, and then you put the shell on your ally and the shard, and then they effectively have an Ion Shell plus the surge. I think this sounds really strong, actually. I saw people theorizing that this would make the hero worse because you don't get the eggs, which is amazing. That's now a 25 talent, 2 Ion Shell charges, which, again, level 25 talents, not going to focus on them too much because getting level 25 in this patch takes a lot longer. Even for course.
I think conceptually I'm not a big fan of this shard, though. It doesn't feel like it fits Darkseer at all.
You don't think so?
No.
Huh.
It feels like a spectral dagger that does damage over time. It's just kind of random. And then you have to auto-cast to disable the trail. It just feels like it's not that easy to use in certain situations as well.
Why would you disable... Like, disabling the trail is a very rare thing for you to do.
Well, if you're trying to run away, or your teammate's trying to run away, they're going to show a trail where they're going.
Yeah, that's true.
Either way, the Ags is now normal punch, and the numbers were increased to make it better. Only a 9-second cooldown now. I don't know. I actually prefer the old one, but I haven't gotten to see it yet. So
I was not much of a normal punch buyer, even though I played Darkseer, and it's one of my best heroes. I think I just didn't get with the times, to be honest. I was just a boomer, and it was good, the normal punch shard. But I think the new one, I don't think you should underestimate how good this new one is. I actually think it's pretty useful, but we'll see. I mean, obviously it's dispellable, right? Because it's Surge. So maybe in a lot of situations it doesn't really do much because you just get dispelled by something. But you know,
we'll see. Cool. We'll see.
Yep.
Okay.
Starbreaker, when you're casting with Shard, it's actually just quality of life. So never mind. We'll skip that. Death Prophet is pretty strongly reworked here.
Yeah, this one's big.
So we're kind of back to the old DP in the sense that she's very slow. So the new DP has had a high movement speed. She had 325. She now has 285. She lost 40 move speed this patch. And now getting move speed is tied to Exorcism, the spell, not to activating it. So, or both, rather.
It's kind of like the old passive she used to have, right?
She used to have Witchcraft, right?
Wow, you actually remember the name. Yeah.
Ability, yeah, because we were talking about it. I didn't remember it, but we talked about it literally yesterday here, so that helps. So now when you skill Exorcism, level 1, you get 12% move speed constantly, and then 16% level 2, 20% level 3, and obviously when you activate it, you get more. But she is slow as shit in lane, and
Spirit Siphon also way worse.
Changed. It's better sometimes, but it scales worse. So Spirit Siphon used to deal percentage-based damage, on top of a flat amount. Now it just does a flat amount, which it went from 10, 12, 14, 16 plus a percentage to flat 20, 40, 60, 80. I think when you get this level 4 early, I feel like 80 damage is a lot per second.
It is, but I like
better for a short time.
I like the identity of it being good against high HP targets, though. And now this can theoretically be used to farm, which she doesn't have trouble farming anyway. So I don't know, it's just some changes I'm just like, what was wrong with having it as HP percentage-based damage? It's like one of the very few spells in the game. You know?
You could have nerfed the amount if you thought it was too strong instead of conceptually reworking. I kind of agree. I'm curious to see how good this is, though. Like, maybe Death Prophet is a total beast on level 7. You go 4 Siphon, you get your move speed from Exorcism, and then 80 DPS on Siphon on 4 charges sounds wild.
Yeah, early game is going to be great, and it falls off.
For a moment, you're insane. Yeah, exactly. So maybe she's an incredible timing hero, and people just need to learn how to play it like that. But I agree, the percentage-based being lost is a bit of a shame, I think.
Disruptor, Glimpse now deals damage. It used to be a talent, so now this prevents blinking. I think that's the big thing. So that's a nice quality of life for him. Doom.
I just quickly want to mention the values because it actually matters quite a lot. I think this is a pretty big buff to the hero. So Disruptor, minimum damage on Glimpse is 50 and maximum damage is 150, 200, 250, 300. And why this matters so much is a lot of the time as Disruptor, you find yourself comboing and catching heroes, but they don't die. You can solo kill people now. You want to max Glimpse anyway, So effectively on level 7 or level 8, whenever you would get level 4 glimpse, the hero just got a flat 300 damage buff on that spell, right? It's really, really
to
big.
be clear, you have to leave in 1 hour, yes?
Yeah, about now.
All right, we got to speed this up, young man.
That's fine. We got over a lot of stuff
Okay. We won't be skipping over Doom, though, because he's fucking cool. Devour no longer gets dispelled on death, but the Scepter has been changed. It used to break and last longer. Now, enemies within 325 radius from the target also suffer the effects of Doom, or it also allows you to cast on yourself, and it applies Doom in an area around you. And now the break is applied as a 25 talent instead. So you buy Lincolns to block the Doom. Well, you just fucking get Ags and cast it on yourself.
Yep.
It's pretty
and
sick.
I think you suffer none of the negatives when you self-doom,
Correct.
right? You don't take damage and you're not doomed.
Yes.
You can still use your spells.
Yes. So I was theory crafting like builds like some, because there's more move speed now on Scorched Earth, I think, somewhere with the talent, but getting some sort of like S and Y type deal where you're running faster and just continually catching people. Obviously you need BKB no matter what, but it's fucking cool, man. It is really cool.
We played a 5-stack of us here with talent. We played, and Ninja Boogie was playing Doom in one of the games, and he went like, standard Doom build, Midas, BKB, Blink, Ags. It looked really fucking good and really fun.
The funny thing is,
I love the visual of it too. It's a really cool visual.
Like, this hero is the ultimate answer to Enigma. Yeah. You just blink in the black hole. That's how you counter fucking Enigma now. It's insane. Yeah, this is cool change. We'll see how it works.
It looks amazing. I think they can polish the sound a little bit. You know how Doom says you are doomed when you doom someone?
Yeah.
Yep, that sound plays literally every time you connect with someone with this spell. And if you run out, so the Doom falls off them, and you run in so they get it again, he says it again. You're right. He is literally... Ninja Boogie is running through these people, and he was like, Doom, 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 you're doomed. Maybe
they need to change it up so he says, I am doomed as well when you cast it yourself.
I am Groot. And then you blink in.
Yes, easy.
Okay, let's see where we are. Okay, we can actually skip over quite a few here.
Okay, good.
Okay, Ench gets a new shard.
I don't want to talk about this very long, but Earthshaker was buffed slightly, and I don't understand why, because he was picked constantly at the major.
Yeah, I don't understand either. I think Shaker's going to be dope. Okay, so Ench, she gets a new shard called Little Friends. So her old one gave you constant 3 wisps of Nature's Attendants, just circling you the whole game. Now you get a shard ability that has 75 mana cost, 20-second cooldown, and 600 cast range, which targets an enemy and all creeps, enemy, allied, and neutrals within 1200 range of the target will attack it with 100 bonus attack speed and 100% bonus move speed for 6 seconds. This is kind of like a Winter's Curse that doesn't stun the target and doesn't work on heroes, except the target can be a hero, but other heroes do not interact with it. So effectively, let's say you're facing Lycan, and he runs in with his hero and his wolves and his Dom Creep, and you press Little Friends on him. Now all of his summons start attacking him for 6 seconds, and they have bonus attack speed and move speed.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's gimmicky, but it is really, really strong together with certain comps.
Does it work on Roche?
I don't know if it works on Roche, but the main thing here is you can pick it together with a strategy because it also works on allied creeps. So if you as Ench have dominated creeps with enchant, or you have an ally that has summons, you can empower them. You just literally give them a target, go kill this guy. But you can also use it offensively against enemies that have summons like Enigma Eidolons, Chen creeps, whatever. There's a clip on Reddit with Ench solo killing Chen where she just Little Friends him and he gets killed by his own creeps.
It's funny, even though you would never have an Ench and a Chen on the same team, Penitence plus that together would be fucking crazy, I'm sure.
It's pretty strong, actually. Yeah, that sounds fun.
All right, Enigma, the Shard and Ags were reworked. So the Shard was the pulling them in thing, and the Ags was, I think, just extra damage on Black Hole. So now...
Are you happy to see that Shard go? I am. I thought it was kind of dumb.
I mean, it's on the Ags now.
Yeah, but it being the Shard was kind of dumb.
Sure. So the Shard now applies with Malefice, so increases Malefice stun by 0.35 seconds, and at every tick on an enemy hero creates an Eidolon, which cannot split, but still gets a refresh duration after a set amount of attacks. So kind of a little cross between two spells there. And then black hole,
believe
I think,
this
is the same
Maleficus
except for the
Eidolon-
pull. The pull is added to that now.
Right. I believe the Eidolon you create with Maleficus can technically last indefinitely.
Really?
So usual Eidolons can split once and then they expire. I think the Shard Eidolon can keep hitting, and every 6 attacks it stays alive.
They should rename it to
So-
Shardalon. What do you think?
Shard, that sounds good. I like
Yeah,
that.
okay.
But I'm not sure if this is exactly. I think this is how it works, which means Enigma could, in theory, get infinite Eidolons, but obviously they need to hit targets all the time or they run out. It's kind of cool. I don't know how good this shard is, but I think the old shard was way too good for 1400 gold on this hero.
Yeah.
So that being on the Scepter seems more reasonable.
I'm not going to talk about it, but briefly, quality of life for Faceless Void, Time Walk, the range has been increased, and then the shard decreased slightly, but overall it's definitely a buff. That's such a feels good for Faceless Void.
Sure.
Let's see what else. Hoodwink.
Yeah, so effectively they're swapping the shard and the scepter. So Decoy is now the ult, or sorry, the scepter, and Boomerang is the shard. It's obviously worse because it would be insane as a shard for 1400 gold, but the concept is the same. It deals less damage. It went from 350 to 200, and then the spell amp goes from 25 to 20, and it no longer reduces status resistance. But this is still a really good shard because you can use it to clear creep waves, for farming, for pushing out lanes, and in fights, it's such a value item on this hero. 200 damage, 20% spell amp for your other spells, 1400 gold, minute 15. Buy this when you play Hoodwink 4. Basically every game. It's really good. And then Decoy, which is now the Scepter, is really weird. You become invisible and get 15% move speed when you use Decoy. And the Decoy you create starts charging up Sharpshooter, and it aims at the nearest visible enemy in 3000 range. And if the decoy is attacked or targeted by a spell, it is destroyed, and then it throws a lesser bushwhack on the attacker like it did before. If it's not attacked, it shoots the sharpshooter in the direction it's aiming, dealing 60% of a regular sharpshooter damage. I don't know how good this Scepter is. It sounds really funny because you can double sharpshooter.
Yes.
Because obviously your hero itself can do something
I
well.
saw it in one game. It's a very small sample. It seemed exceptionally strong, actually. It seemed really fucking good.
So you can't control the sharpshooter that it fires.
Correct.
So you need to be really careful with how you place it, and it needs to charge up, right?
Yeah.
So it needs to aim the sharpshooter, and it needs to fly. So you need to find a way of ensuring that that lands. I personally think the shard seems like the better value proposition, but I think you can buy both on a support Hoodwink.
I think it's actually legit good. Now, I don't remember how long they changed this, or is this just part of Decoy? But could you always hear Sharpshooter through fog?
Yes.
Okay, because I was just hearing it constantly.
I think so, at least. Right?
But
I think so.
I think...
Yeah, you could.
And again, it's only one shitty-ass game of Dota, low skill, but I think this is actually going to be considered quite good.
That's good, yeah.
All right.
I want to quickly mention Invoker, because I played with Fogged yesterday as well, and he just noticed that talent. He was like, what the hell? Invoker's talents are really different now. So on level 10, instead of 40% Chaos Meteor damage, you can get a talent that gives minus 6 second Tornado cooldown, which is a huge buff to Quas Wex. Then a level 10 talent minus Ghost Wall cooldown, you can take plus 20% EMP mana burn. So again, you can choose Quas Wex path for the mana burn. And then on level 20, instead of minus 10 seconds Tornado cooldown, which is obviously now the level 10 talent for minus 6, you get plus 80% Chaos Meteor damage. The damage that this spell deals level 20, when you have this talent maxed out Exort, and you get any sort of amplifier like Kaya or E-Blade or Ags for the extra level in Exort, the damage he was dealing with the Chaos Meteor plus Shard was fucking insane. Let me tell you, that was wild. So I think this is really just flat out a really strong buff to Invoker with the talents. Whichever path you choose, this seems really, really strong. Because on level 10, even if you were playing Quas Exort Invoker, yeah, the 80% Chaos Meteor damage was nice, but Exort Invoker truly comes online later in the game, and that's where you just get this amazing level 20 talent instead. You would have to take instead the Alacrity talent, which is also very good, but man, this damage was wild. So worth looking out for in your Invoker games. Let's see. We can skip quite a bit further now. Do you want to mention LC Shard? Just got buffed. The numbers are better, but it's the same effect.
I hate this thing. Overwhelming odds, bonus armor, and I mean, this isn't worth mentioning. Just slight buff. The cast range on Duel is the big thing, though. Cast range increased from 150 to 200, 250, 300. and there's no longer a talent that gives you 200 cast range. So it's, I think, almost worse. Because you're going to be at 200, like it's a 50 buff for the level 1. That's when you're wanting to get like your early game duels. And you'll never get this 10 talent now.
But it is nice that you start racking up duel damage from the beginning, though.
How are you, just because of 50 HP? Oh, you mean the... Oh, yeah.
It's a level 10 talent, so instead of 200 dual cast range, you get 8 dual bonus damage.
Yeah, that is nice.
That's pretty nice.
True. That is nice. But
you
know
obviously
that...
don't have the level 30 talent anymore with 30 the 25 talent.
Yeah, but
30
that doesn't matter. We know that Elsie's not about getting dual victories. She's a support hero. Cinderin, please.
Yeah, true. Okay, quickly I want to mention Lesh. I think this is a bit of a shame. This was one of the very unique things about Pulse Nova, was that it dealt damage instantly when triggered, so you could choose... It gave you the option in fights of burning through your mana faster, but dealing more damage, because you could toggle it and reactivate it to get more damage in. So every time it would pulse, you would immediately switch it off and on again for a secondary pulse. You can't do that anymore. He gets 2 bonus damage on base damage, and then Pulse Nova now, it starts ticking after 1 second instead of when you activate it, but it still costs mana to activate, and then to compensate, they've given it more DPS. So it's like more consistent when you're farming the jungle. It will be more efficient there because you don't want to burn through your mana there. But in team fights, I think this is, depending on the situation, probably weaker. But if you were struggling to retain your mana, now it's better. Because you would just leave it on, right? We'll see.
I actually think the Ice Spire, this is kind of a big change, requires 5 hero hits or 10 creep hits to be destroyed instead of whatever the HP was before.
Yeah, it had health, yeah.
And casting Frost Shield on this is whatever. Frost Shield on it will heal it. So it's like Tombstone now, pretty much.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I didn't really see people. I mean, people don't pick Lich in general, but this is definitely much better than before. So we'll see.
Yeah, it makes it feel like you can play Spire offensively in a different way now, because it's not just going to get one shot in the late game by a carry.
Yeah.
Now they have to commit for it, and that gives you the opportunity to land Chain Frost. And even if you don't, Ice Spire still has its passive effects of slowing, which is really nice. So definitely much, much better shard now. Lina Scepter sounds ridiculously overpowered. And then I realized how long it lasts, but it doesn't say that here.
Let's see.
25-second cooldown Scepter gives Lina Flame Cloak, where she gets flying movement, 30% spell damage, and 35% magic resist. 25-second cooldown cannot be dispelled. Apparently, this lasts for 6 seconds, so not very long, but also not the longest downtime. And obviously, the way you want to use this, you use your Scepter, and then you blow your entire load for 30% extra damage, which is pretty nasty, to be fair. So it's still very, very good. You get flying movement, so it's very easy to connect on heroes and land your spells across tree lines, across Roche Pit, across high grounds where there's wards or smokes. So I still think this is really good and really cool, but now that it's 6 seconds duration, I don't know exactly how good it is. It's amazing to get from Roche, though. Holy shit. But yeah, we'll see.
Yep. I love seeing her as like this right-click carry, by the way. I hope they keep kind of enabling that. Now that we don't see that with Mirana anymore. Like these ranged right-clickers, I think, like I would love to see Silencer actually go down that road as well. But that ain't happening. Luna, Lucent Beam for Shard reworked a bit. Every time an enemy hero is hit by Lucent Beam, Luna's attack damage is increased by 15 for 12 seconds. So I would say that this is probably every time a hero is hit by Lucent Beam, but it doesn't work on the ult, right?
I don't think it works with Eclipse, no.
So it's interesting. And now the old Shard is kind of the 20 talent now. So...
yeah. And you get a 15 talent option.
Yeah, 15 improved. Talent. Yeah, that's true.
No, it's nerfed.
From 3 seconds to 2 seconds for the Lucent Beam cooldown reduction. Lunar Blessing now receives global radius at nighttime. What are your thoughts on it? Between this and Lycan, we're going to see a lot of day-night cycle stuff.
I don't know. I think having spells that interact with day and nighttime is cool, right? We have that with Night Stalker, obviously, and with Phoenix that can turn day to night with Supernova.
Apparently, so Lucent Beam works on ult, by the way, Chad is saying.
Oh, it does?
Oh, that
makes the shard a lot better. Holy shit. Wow. Yeah, then it's good. Lunar Blessing being global at nighttime. Okay, so the tricky thing about this is I like the idea conceptually, but I think this might be too good. I don't know exactly how you balance this. Like, yeah, I understand it got nerfed a little bit in values, but for effectively half the game, all your allies have 28 damage everywhere on the map. That seems a little bit wild. I don't know.
I just was looking up how many max beams you can get on one hero. It's 5 without Ags. So is that 60 attack speed? Oh wait, it's
75 damage.
It's 12 seconds. Never mind. Oh, it's damage. Okay, boy, I read that horribly.
75 damage.
I mean, that seems pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's a good shard.
It's an enemy hero, so you can't use this on creeps or anything.
True. But it has to be the heroes in the fight that get hit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting change. I don't mind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, not sure what to think about the global radius, but yeah, Lycan next.
Yeah, so Howl is global during nighttime, and this spell has a 50% uptime if you spam it whenever it's ready. And what Howl does now, I always forget because Howl's been changed 2 billion times. It gives minus attack damage, right?
Minus attack damage and armor reduction for 8 seconds.
Yeah, so 16-second cooldown, and for 8 seconds you lose 60% damage and 7 armor. I think this is beyond ridiculous that this works like this. If I'm Lycan in the game right now, I just cast this off cooldown, honestly. The enemy team will lose farm because they lose damage to farm with. They will take more damage whatever they're doing. And obviously I will still have it ready in the fight because it's ready all the time. You know, it's 8-second downtime, so you'll have it when you want it. I don't like this change. I think the Luna one is a little bit harder to gauge just how good this is because like half the game it's worse for you than it was before, and then half the game it's better for your team than it was before. And the amounts feel, like a little bit more forgiving. I still think it's better now than it was before, and I don't know if I like the way this is implemented. I think it would be way cooler if Lunar Blessing had a global component at nighttime, so you could activate it for it to work globally for a time at night, and then have cooldown, just like Lycan's Howl does. Just that I think the value proposition for Lycan is too skewed. With let's say Lunar Blessing, you could activate it at nighttime for global. And it would last, say, 15 seconds, and then it would go on cooldown for a minute or something. Like then you have a timing. You can help people a little bit with ganks or something, but
they need more heroes that turn it to day. Isn't Phoenix the only one?
The only one. Yeah, 10 seconds.
I like the idea of having like these really temporary day or night cycles that can synergize with your hero picks. I think that's conceptually really cool. But yeah, this seems kind of broken right now. But
imagine this Keeper of the Light turns it to day, but only in a radius around him. He's like so it's night outside of his radius, but he has like an influence where it's day.
So you want a front line on Keeper of the Light is what you said?
No, I mean you could make the aura big.
Oh, okay.
Like what if 1,000 radius around Caudle it's day when he has hold on?
That sounds pretty fucking cool, actually. Yeah, I like that.
Then it's kind of like when Gandalf the White shows up. No spoilers here.
Yeah, no spoilers. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I think we both agree Howl is broken and Lunar Blessing is question mark. How good it is.
No idea on that
I think
one.
the Howl, if it's cast during nighttime and it's global, the global effects at least should not be full values. It should be something lower. It should be like half a Howl or a third Howl or a quarter Howl or whatever when it is outside the range.
All right, we got to move on, Cinderin. Marcy.
Marcy got the Earth Spirit treatment.
Yep, Dispose is now a slow and Rebound is now a stun. That's a TLDR.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which... honestly, I do like a lot better. Rebound sounds fucking strong. That's a long range stun, but you're putting yourself in a position to get killed theoretically, right?
And it lost a lot of AoE.
Yeah.
It went from 375 to 250. That's a giga nerf on radius.
Overall, I like this change. Obviously, we're sick of seeing her anyway, so we would have liked any nerf, but conceptually, I think this actually sounds better. So
yeah.
And you can actually, with Ags, have your allies stun with a rebound, right? Instead. So that's kind of cool. Mars, the Bulwark. Is that worth talking about? Active redirect no longer uses a radius center around Mars. Now only works if projectile targets are in the cone behind Mars. And the redirect range increased from 800 to 900. But there was also a talent, 30% Bulwark active redirect chance. So what does that percent get to? It's 100%.
Chance?
Is that right?
What's the chance now? I think so, yeah.
It's 70. 70 for front. Yeah. For the front is 70.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. I would like to see like this positioning actually matter a lot more where, that it feels like that Overwatch character, which I don't even know the fucking name because that game is god-awful, but it makes that shield. It's almost like that, but it's much smaller AoE. I think it's conceptually cool.
Yep.
Meepo, this is the big one people are talking about. Dig, which is the Ags, where you burrow had the channel time and now it's removed. So people are thinking that this is going to be crazy good, even though the numbers were slightly nerfed for the health restored. Oops.
Yeah. It basically allows you to heal all of your meepos once, right?
Yep. This felt like a kind of a Band-Aid solution, I thought, because it's like a visage bird thing, but he needs it. It's like the whole point of the hero is that it's a big risk to have 5 heroes, and if one dies, you die. And this is like, hey, let me give you a Band-Aid to make that not so much the case. So I found it kind of weird.
He got a mega early buff on Earthbind. It went from 26-second cooldown level 1 to 16. And it's better on all levels except level 4, where it's 2 seconds longer cooldown. And then he got 0.3 strength gain too. So
we should talk about the 25 talent though. It's called Pack Rat, and you can equip any item in the neutral item slot. Hilarious. And I see the look on your face.
What? I have not seen this.
That's fucking cool. You can be 7 slotted on Meepo. I think that's a cool one. I like that.
Is that good? What would you put in your backpack?
What do you mean? You farm so fast. It could be anything.
Yeah, but level 25, yeah, I guess so. But then you don't have a neutral item. So
that's right.
But yeah, that's probably pretty good. You have to remember it comes at the cost of 375 health, right? That's what you're getting before. So if you catch my drift, the item that you're putting in the neutral slot needs to be better than the sum of the neutral item you would have plus 375 health.
Right. The question is, and I have no idea what the answer is, were people getting that talent, or were they getting the one extra clone before?
Yeah. That's
Nobody picked this hero, so who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, I want to quickly mention Mirana. She got multiple buffs. She lost a little bit of agi gain though, but it's way easier to hit two star storms on a hero target because it has the secondary search radius is now 650 up from 425. So you can star storm from way further away and still hit twice. And Leap got multiple buffs. Cool Monkey King shard. We saw that in play yesterday. When you have the shard on Monkey King, you can put Monkey King's first spell on auto cast, and then it works like Burrow Strike. So then you slam the ground with your staff, and then you slide down the staff and reach the end.
How fast is it?
Transports you as well. It takes like a second to slide down the staff or something like that. Okay. Maybe a bit less. It looked pretty good.
And the old shard is kind of a 10 talent now
changes. Too. Yeah, that's true. You get the mischief damage immunity as an option. I think you probably don't take that. You probably take the other one. But all right, so Morphling has a new shard. It causes attribute shift to work while stunned. So that's the old one. The old attribute shift is back. And it increases bonus agility by 6. Now you shift a little bit slower on level 4. And it costs more mana on level 4 as well, which is very notable.
Mm-hmm.
Now the shard on the strength part causes it again. That's just the same thing. Increases your bonus strength by 6 as well. So buying the shard gives you 6 strength and 6 agi.
Yep, and the shard in practice is a 20 talent now, the old one. Adaptive strike. Oh no. Wait, they got rid of it completely. That was the bouncing adaptive strike, right? So I guess you can't get that anymore at all. My mistake. Okay, moving on. This one I don't understand. You're going to explain this to me, this Naga change. So, Ensnare for Scepter no longer decreases Ensnare cooldown, but still allows to target spell immune and sleeping units. Scepter now increases projectile speed by 50%. And as a result of that, rework the Scepter to give you a new skill called Reel In. Naga Siren channels up to 5 seconds, pulling all units affected by Ensnare in a 1400 range toward her at a speed of 150. Aren't you only going to have one unit ensnared? In what scenario are you having more than one unit?
How long does Ensnare last? Not long enough. Yeah, you're going to have one unless you have Refresher Shard or Scepter or
okay, explain to me why this is like... I mean, this is never something you buy, I guess.
When I read this, I thought this is the worst Ags in the whole game. But you obviously still do get the allowing it to target spell immune units, right?
So it's with sleep, I'm guessing is how you want to...
So what did the old Ags do exactly? It allowed you to target magic immune units.
Range and cooldown.
It gave it more range, and it lowered the cooldown. So the trade-off now is that you don't have the cooldown reduction anymore, but now you have Reel In, which I think is worse. So I think it's just a nerf, honestly. Like, yeah, there's some very odd scenarios where you sleep the enemy, and then you net a target, and then you can pull it up to 750 range during the sleeps. Like, there's some sort of repositional plays going on, but I think you would honestly most of the time rather have the cooldown reduction in the past because this is a channel. So your main Naga can't attack while using reel in.
That's why it's weird. I don't like these like very forced synergistic thing because this effective. I know it's not 100%, but this effectively you will only use during your ult anyway. It feels like trash. It feels like trash.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sold.
Nature's Prophet, his old shard of the big boy Treants is gone. Instead, you get a new skill called Curse of the Old Growth. Applies a curse on all non-invisible enemy heroes within 1,200 range, which is enormous, revealing them in the fog of war, slowing them, and causing damage over time based on how many trees there are within 250 radius. Treants count as trees for this purpose. Each tree reduces movement speed by 7% and deals 15 damage per second. The duration of this is 6 seconds, cooldown 20, mana cost 80, cast range 800. I don't know
how many trees are in Sprout? 8?
Maybe.
Okay, let's say it's 8, all right? And then we'll do some quick math here. If you're Sprouted and then get Curse of the Old Growth, Sprout deals 120 DPS for 6 seconds. That's pretty strong, right?
Okay.
And on top of that, you obviously there will be other situations than just Sprout, like chasing people in the trees, fighting in specific areas of the map, etc., etc. And also they get slowed. So let's say you Sprout someone and you cast Curse of the Old Growth, and then they Quelling Blade. Sure, there isn't a tree blocking them anymore, but they're still slowed by 50% because there's 7 trees left that they need to run away from. So they're probably.
What's the point of slowing them if they're rooted with your fucking 20 talent anyway?
Then the 20 talent just deals a shitload of damage. That sounds pretty good to me. Like, so I think the trade-off here is that Furion will be less good at the split push game where the shard was just insane value because you constantly had to clean up the trash with these big trees that were just really strong. This spell does sound good though, I think.
See,
also,
I
the
would
fact,
rather...
like you said, it's a huge radius, so this is going to deal damage in a lot of team fights just in different positions, right?
Well, it's based on the trees that are within 250. This is again going back on my point of like forced synergy. I would rather the numbers be lowered with damage and whatnot, but the radius being increased dramatically, so that actually matters what part of the map you're in. Like this is literally for Sprout. That's the problem. Like I know
it's primarily for Sprout. Like, there's plenty of team fights where you're in the tree line. Support or whatever.
That's very like sure. Like the 1,200 range, revealing people in Fog of War. Obviously, that's just good in general. But most of the spell in terms of the damage is literally for Sprout, right? That's the problem I have with it.
Mostly for Sprout.
That's the problem I have with it. So,
but I do think you're underestimating how many teamfight situations you're in around the map where this will have 1 or 2 or 3 stacks on multiple heroes because they're next to some sort of trees, 1,200 radius around you. Like that is.
But it's 250 radius.
Yeah, from the trees.
But you're saying the vision aspect, because that's huge.
No. So let's say I'm Furion and I'm in the fight and I use this ability. 1,200 radius around me. Everybody who's close to any sort of tree start taking damage and being slowed, right?
Yes.
It's just like it's like a huge upheaval that is based around trees being nearby, and there's a fuckload of trees on the map. Like you're generally going to be next to some sort of tree if you're a support in the backline hiding or fighting around, especially bottom tier 2 tower on Dire, or tier 1 tower on Radiant.
Am I not understanding this? This is a single target or not?
No, this is an AoE radius around yourself, right?
Instant active. Okay. So instant active.
So you become the center of this, and then 1,200 radius around you.
Okay.
This works.
And it's a 250 radius around each unit that's hit.
Around every unit that's hit, they need to be within 250 range of any tree around in that 1,200 radius.
Okay.
I think it's pretty good. This.
All right. I need to see it.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's primarily good with Sprout because Sprout, you guarantee there's a fuckload of trees in a very small spot, right? So whoever is Sprouted will take a lot of damage and a lot of slow.
The thing I do like about this is that the old shard is gone. So no like split pushing, which is very annoying.
I mean, I think this sounds really cool and interesting. I don't know how good it is, but like maybe it's overpowered, maybe it's weak. But I think it's a really good idea. I think it's very creative. And I think it's very cool to have, like we talked about with, for example, day and night cycle or whatever. This is a spell that interacts with terrain. Like it genuinely matters where you're fighting as Nature's Prophet, and you use the terrain to your advantage, which means certain spots on the map, this skill will be really strong because there's more trees, or the enemy team is like placing their heroes around trees. I think it's really cool. We'll see how good it is, though. Okay. Ogre.
Yep, that's
Ogre
a big
Magi.
one.
He was first picked by a few teams yesterday. he lost 3 HP regen and 1 armor and got 20 fucking base damage. I think the only other time in Dota history I've seen this was the last Techies change, where he went from having atrocious base damage to having decent one. Ogre got 20 base damage. He trades way stronger in lane with damage, but obviously you have less regen, so it's different how the hero works. I wonder if Valve are trying to push something here where you try to turn him slightly into a core, which if he ever becomes core viable with attack damage, it's interesting because you're a carry that has its own stun and slow and steroid, right? It's like no other hero has that. I don't know if you can play it as a carry or as a core. He has talents that benefit from it as well. Maybe there's something you could do, but you're still Ogre. You still don't have mobility, and you're melee. So most melee carries that are good have mobility. So that will always be a problem.
Yep. I watched some of those games. He seems pretty strong. I think Puppy got like a triple kill before minute 0 in one of them.
Yeah, he played him as a 5, and then the next game they played on Zayats as a 4, and that did not go nearly as well. But I think as a support, it's still mainly a 5.
Omni?
Yeah, Heavenly Grace now dispels both you and the target. I think that's the one that's worth mentioning.
Yep.
So it's a hard dispel on both. Beforehand, it was only a hard dispel on the target.
Hammer of Purity did get buffed. Maybe it's a skill now. I've yet to even see this hero picked, really. So
yeah, it's a bit better in lane, primarily. But yeah, I think Core Omni just... Like, I think Valve really want to make Core Omni happen with Hammer of Purity. I just don't think it's good enough. But yeah, maybe... I know Thompson has played it a bit mid, actually, in some pubs before this patch even. So maybe it's possible. Do you want to talk about Pango? Shield Crash?
Hell yeah. Oh, yeah. That's very sad.
Hell no.
Yeah, duration for Shield Crash nerfed from 11 seconds to 5. That is fucking huge. So you're only going to get the damage reduction for 5 seconds now, which is just terrible. Mana cost and Swashbuckle is lower, though, so that's going to feel a little bit better. Lucky Shot got decent change, though. It lowers enchants, but can now proc on any instance of damage dealt by Pangalier's abilities, so just literally any of his skills.
Shield Crash and Rolling Thunder can activate Lucky Shot.
Yeah, and then past that, yeah, not much, I guess.
I think the level 10 talent minus +3 Lucky Shot armor reduction sounds really strong, though.
Yeah, but a lot of people did take the mana regen once. I'm a little surprised they got rid of that. But it doesn't cost as much mana now, so maybe not needed.
3 Lucky Shot armor reduction sounds really strong. All right.
Phantom Strike is cool, though. You get Lifesteal with Phantom Strike now. So
this is such a huge buff. This hero was really favored yesterday in the pro games. You literally just gave PA 10, 15, 20, 25% lifesteal when Phantom Striking at no expense. She just got that as a base buff. And then the trade-off, or the change rather, is that you don't have the 15% lifesteal talent on level 15 anymore, but you get the 25% blur evasion there as an option. So you can choose to get the evasion earlier. This was a 25 talent or 20 talent before, but if you do take blur evasion on level 15, you do not have the Phantom Strike cast range, I think it is.
Yeah,
which is a really strong talent. So yeah, it's I still think she's just better. Like, whenever a hero just gets this on a base spell, it seems really, really strong. So, pretty meaningful. Primal's got a Scepter. And so we'll do a Shard first. It used to just throw that rock, which was very clunky. Instead of changing it into something else, they just made it through more rocks. So you throw the rock, and then after it lands, it throws smaller rocks behind the first one. Which might actually make it a lot better, because you're likely to actually hit it now for once. So that's kind of cool. All right. Scepter, you release 3 waves of 2 projectiles per stack to Uproar. So Uproar can have up to 5 stacks when you've been hit. You release 3 waves of 2 projectiles per stack, so that would be 15 waves of 2 projectiles if you use it when you've maxed out Uproar. And then they split in 2 after 1.25 second delay. The projectiles deal 100 damage, and they apply Break for 2.5 seconds.
Love this. Love.
And Uproar can now be used while channeling, so you can use Uproar during your ult.
Love. Quality of life.
I don't know how good this is, because it's one of those things you read the text and you're like, this is either amazing or terrible, and you just need to see it in game. Like, it doesn't say how big the waves are, it doesn't say how wide the projectiles go, but it just on paper, reading this, it sounds pretty strong.
Yeah, I mean, just adding another break, very important. The fact that they kept a theme from Aghanim's Labyrinth, like if you see this skill, you'll instantly recognize that it's one of the final boss Primal Beast skills that he uses. So actually very elegantly designed, if I do say so myself. It's Not that I made it. I don't know why I said do say so myself.
I was
As if
thinking that.
No, I think it's really cool.
Right.
Another break is great.
Yeah.
Puck got almost no nerfs. It was just Witchblade, so people were shocked by that.
And talent changes, though.
Slight talent changes, yeah.
They're
Pudge
pretty
Scepter,
meaningful.
slightly nerfed. Not according to Quinn Callahan, Cinderin. You're going to say Quinn Callahan's wrong?
He said Puck is not nerfed.
He said Puck is still God tier.
It might still be very, very good, but I do think it's nerfed.
Okay. We'll see who's
Look at
right.
this.
Pugna, they kind of got rid of the spell damage reduction on Netherward, which was always kind of weird. But they've reworked Scepter, so that used to give you 0 cooldown on Life Drain. But since Life Drain was only, 8 seconds? Or 7-second cooldown now? Didn't really feel that good. Now instead, it reduces cooldown by 50%. And when targeting an enemy hero, Pugna reduces their outgoing spell damage by 8% per second up to a maximum of 75% and increases his own up to a maximum of 100%. When used on another ward, the rate is 4%. Debuff lasts for 8 seconds. So, interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think this changes anything for
It's
Pugna.
very creative. I don't know how good it is.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that good.
But Queen of Pain, this was the big one that people were talking about. Shadow Strike, her scepter is gone, so no more minus cooldown for Sonic Wave, although it's in a talent now, I guess. Shadow Strike initial damage increased by 80 for the scepter and is applied to all enemies in a 375 radius. When Shadow Strike ends or is reapplied to an enemy hero, the target emits a scream of pain, hitting any enemy nearby. Doesn't trigger on illusions or death. So remember, Shadow Strike has a 4-second cooldown.
Yeah. And you could take a level 20 talent. No, you can't anymore. Never mind.
No,
That's gone.
the AoE is built into the Ags now. But it's not as high of an AoE, I guess.
I don't think this is good.
That's what everybody seems to be saying. It sounds
I think it's one of
crazy
the worst
though, right?
things.
It sounds crazy.
It's just so insanely situational. Like, consider what activates the trigger, right? It only throws out the Scream of Pain if you reapply the Shadow Strike or it ends. And this spell lasts for like 15 seconds, right?
Yes.
So you can't really plan for it to end. So the only way you really meaningfully do this, because it doesn't trigger on death, it says. If it triggered on death, it would be more reliable, right? Then you could use it on something and kill it.
You
to
know
get a
what would
screen.
be a sick quality of life? You get a sub ability with Ags that lets you automatically end all Shadow Strikes globally. Tell me that's not fucking cool.
That would make it really good.
That would be fucking cool too, though, right?
But it would. That's the thing about this, right? Like the 80 initial damage on Shadow Strike is nice. You know, you do a bit more damage with that. That's just a flat bonus. But the problem is meeting the conditions for this to reactivate is essentially you're recasting Shadow Strike on the target again to get a scream. You paid 4,200 gold for this instead of getting like Shiva's Guard or Refresher Orb, BKB. I don't know, man. I just don't.
It might be bad.
I think it's way too hard.
I like the idea though, and once it gets
cool,
buffed,
it's a creative idea. I'm always happy with creative ideas. I think the current version is
Valve,
that's it.
add the sub ability, and it's good. Ish.
Razor got some pretty big nerfs, and then they reworked his shard. So it always hits up to 3 valid targets, even if the attacker or caster of the incoming spell is magic immune. Cast on attacks have consistent targeting rules. Yeah, I don't know. This shard wasn't really bought very much.
Does that matter? Does the slow
rush.
go through magic immunity or something from Storm Surge?
I guess maybe, or at least the damage will, right?
I thought it was
don't think
magic
it's that
damage.
important.
Why would that go? Anyway, I know.
Yeah, not sure.
Okay.
Shadow Demon gets a new spell. This is big. He lost Soul Catcher, and then he got a spell called Disseminate.
Cool
not
name.
to be mistaken for Dissimulate. People are going to get that wrong all the time. Or Disassemble. So this is a single target ability, and whenever the target takes damage, you can cast this on yourself, allies, or enemies. So any single target you can cast this on. If it is an enemy within 600 range of the target, so let's say you cast it on an enemy. When that target takes... okay, maybe I'm explaining this really bad. I'll just read the text first, maybe that's better.
Yes.
Whenever the target takes damage, all enemies, including the target itself, if it is an enemy, within 600 range of the target, also receive 20, 25, 30, 35% of that damage. Can target enemy and allied units. Effect is paused if the enemy is hidden by disruption. Duration 6 seconds. Cooldown 18 seconds on level 4. 100 mana cost. 1000 cast range on level 4. Effectively, this kind of works like Fatal Bonds, just that instead of binding it to other heroes, it is just a flat AoE around the target where all damage done to that target is reflected onto the other heroes nearby, including itself. So
it's like Quap Ags.
think Fatal Bonds meets Spectre Dispersion. It's kind of like that.
It's just Quap Ags, Synderen. Just make it simple. We just talked about it.
Yeah, but not really. So, you put this on an ally, right? And they run into the fight, and if they get targeted by the enemy, they will take dispersion damage, effectively, around them. You target an enemy, you damage that enemy, they take more damage than usual, and some of the damage they take gets spread around them to other enemies nearby. You lost Soulcatcher for this. I think this is sometimes better. I think it is sometimes worse. Because Soulcatcher had amazing moments against very beefy heroes. Soulcatcher could just do an instant 1,000 damage, you know? This can't. This needs to ramp up and build up with other allies dealing the damage.
It's
I don't
cool.
know. I think on average this will be better. It's a creative idea. Yeah, we'll see.
Yep, it's cool.
Shadow Fiend, Shadow Raise now applies a stackable 30% turn speed slow and 15% move speed slow per consecutive stack. So that means it does nothing on the first raise, but after you hit the first raise, if you hit a second, they lose turn speed and move speed, and after you hit the third, they lose even more. Then it's kind of like being napalmed.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
And Shadow Fiend gets a 25 taunt. Shadow Raise applies attack damage. It's very interesting.
Fucking cool.
But it's 25, and yeah.
Yeah, but I like the idea of being able to choose between damage build or caster build, right? So
yeah,
I think that's a cool concept for sure. And
if it applies to Silencer,
if it applies attack damage, does it apply orbs or crits and shit like that?
I don't think so. I think it's just the damage just gets put on top.
Sad.
I don't think it does any effects. Okay, Silencer gets a buttload of changes. The primary ones are obviously the base stat ones, which I don't know if are a nerf or a buff. I haven't done the math on this, but his base attack time, or base attack speed, goes from 115 to 100, so that's a nerf. But his base attack time goes from 1.6 to 1.7 to 1.6, so that's a buff. I don't know what this equates to. My gut says it's a nerf, actually, but don't know. And then a lot of number changes, and the shard got reworked. Shard now, every fourth attack silences an enemy for 1.75 seconds, and you steal 2 more int when you kill. Also, last word, yeah.
I feel like this enables right click, actually. I was thinking about it a little bit, and the old one was right click, right? Because it was bouncing glaives. But this one, attack speed is fucking crazy. Every fourth attack will silence somebody. That's a perma silence if you have a lot of attack speed. So kind of cool, but we'll see.
Good idea.
I keep thinking he's going to turn to a right clicker, and then he just never does. So
he's still not good.
And he's just garbage in every regard. So we'll see.
Skyrath got a new shard. Happy with that, because I think his old shard was just awkward. It was the one where every time you cast a spell, you got armor and int. The new one, every time you deal magic damage, you gain a buff.
It's the same thing.
That's the same thing.
No, before is every time you cast a spell. This is every time you deal damage with your spells. So each instance. So this stacks up. Each instance of Mystic Flare, will stack it up. And if you get Ags, that doubles it. Each spell that you deal damage with will give you a shit ton of int and armor.
I actually thought... I hadn't read this, I must admit. I hadn't read this before now. So when it said rework shard, I was like, oh good, not this int armor shit. And then it's just the same in a different packaging. But this one is better, I think. So maybe
I was watching Jenkins play around with it with, like, in a real scenario, like... with the Aghanim Scepter and whatnot, you would gain like 400 or 500 attack damage, something fucking crazy, because of the amount of instances that come out of Mystic Flare. If you're hitting 2 people with Mystic Flare with your Ags, you
get a lot of ints. Yeah,
I
mean, the armor is also meaningful when it's that amount, right?
Yes, it's a lot of armor too.
It just, to me, the reason I dislike the shard is that I feel like it's not the hero's identity. I feel like he's supposed to be frail. I find it weird that the shard gives armor. Like, it should give something else. Like, I don't know. It's one of my least favorite shards in the game, but I think this version is better and more interesting than the old one, at least. But still, not my favorite. Slardar gains passive health regen when he's in water and armor.
Hell yeah. They give him like a mini Ags just by default. Yeah. Love it.
Interesting. Pounce no longer deals direct damage, but it applies stacks of Essence Shift. That's pretty interesting.
It's really weird.
So when you hit Pounce, you get immediate stacks. but he got a nerf to agility gain, but got a base attack speed increase. So I do think like Slark is a hero that's fully just based around hitting a lot. So base attack speed is a really big change for this hero. It's one of the best things he can get to increase his win chance. So I think this is a flat out buff.
Snapfire has a new shard. Yeah, I'm surprised they changed this because the old shard was actually quite good. The Scatterblast stun.
Yeah, maybe it was too good though.
Yeah, maybe. But now Fire Snap Cookie increases hop range by 175 and launches a Mortimer's Kisses glob along with the targeted unit. So this is weird because it actually changes the distance that Cookie has. So you actually have to get used to it because now you might not be able to hit it properly. But if you do hit it, it's a lot of damage. It's like adding like 400 damage to it basically because of the damage over time where they're sitting in that stun. So I like the old shard though, so that's why it's kind of weird. But they just want to change her identity to be more supporty, I guess. But then why does she have all these right-click builds?
I mean, it still supports buying the other one.
That's true. So, that's true.
Yeah, not sure. Okay, Sniper can't concussive grenade when rooted or leashed anymore. Just feels like an inconsistency that got fixed. Spirit Breaker gets a new shard.
Yeah.
Planner Pocket. He increases his own magic resist by 25% and redirects the first enemy spell targeted at an allied hero within 900 radius towards himself. The magic resist is removed after the spell has hit. 6-second duration, 20-second cooldown, 75 mana. This is a spell that in theory sounds really cool because it synergizes with Bulldoze, obviously. But supposedly, at least in this current version, unless that was fixed, this triggers on cast start, not on projectile start. So you could literally proc Planner Pocket by just fake casting a spell on an enemy hero. I just saw a clip where Avenge starts casting Magic Missile and stop cast it, and Planner Pocket just goes off, and the stun hasn't even been cast yet, and then she casts it again.
I think it's planar. Am I wrong? Is it not planar?
Planar? It's a plane. Yeah, of course, planar. I think you're right.
I actually
maybe it's both.
Really don't like the concept behind it. I really don't like this at all. I think this is really bad. I don't think anybody's going to buy it. And I hope it's just redesigned. I don't like the idea at all. It's just weird. But I mean, it's not like I missed the old shard though either. So
you see the synergy with Bulldoze, right? Like it makes sense from what you're trying to do, but it at least needs to. It just feels a little awkward, right? It's like the thing about it that I do like is the idea of how high skill it is, right? It's like a mind game spell where you feel like the enemy is about to cast a spell because you know, like, behavior of heroes in situations like, okay, this is when Venge will cast her stun, and I really don't want that to go on my carry, so I'm going to use Planar Pocket, right? I think that part of it is really cool, but just feels a little bit, at the same time, it's also really awkward because it's on allied heroes, and what's the radius? 900 radius, right?
Yeah, and chat makes a good point that Lotus makes it like a must-buy, I think, right? Because definitely synergizes.
Wait, how?
Because it gets redirected to you.
And this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you reflect it back.
But I just don't. I don't know if I like that playstyle for Spirit Breaker. It just feels weird.
It definitely needs. At the very least, it needs to be fixed so it's when the projectile hits, not when it gets. The animation is started.
All right, we got to zip through, Cinderin. Storm Shard no longer grants allied heroes the benefit of attack bounce talent. Okay.
I still have half an hour. Okay.
Oh, half an hour. You said 15 minutes.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
No.
Sven, his Scepter, I thought this was added already. Was it not? Scepter adds an autocast. If enabled, Sven does not travel with the Stormhammer. Obviously, sometimes you didn't want to do that. I miss Superman Sven. I'm not going to lie, man. But it got killed when it didn't have an instant attack, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was also too powerful, right?
It was too powerful. I like the idea.
The fact that you now get the choice, I mean, I feel like this is more of a buff to Rubik than to Sven. Because now when you steal Stormhammer, you can choose not to fly in as Rubik.
Yeah, that's true.
Or as Morphling. If you don't want to, you can just Stormhammer.
Yeah, that is true.
But that's if you have Ags.
Interested what you think about this. So Techies, Minefield sign, which was it useless before? Did it do anything?
I don't remember.
I thought they got rid of it doing anything, but maybe I'm wrong. Cooldown went from 360 to 60. Duration decreased from 180 to 60, so it's 100% uptime. Cast time increased from 0 to 1 seconds and now causes mines within 500 radius to be invulnerable. Obviously, you don't have
this when you get Ags, right?
Yes. Wait. Actually, I don't know. Because the Ags is... Hold on, let me look this up real quick. The Ags does not say... No, I think he just has Minefield Sign.
You have the skill from the start of the game? I
think so, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not that powerful because you don't have the green mines. That's what made it ridiculous before. But it does have 100% uptime. So you can kind of just put all your red mines in the same area of your tier 3 tower or whatever, and they just have to go to another tower, I guess. Or they just walk through it. It's weird.
Fuck this.
I don't know what to think about it, honestly. I know you don't like it, of course.
Yeah. All
right, next... Oh, Tide Hunter.
Are you positive you have Mind Sign when you start the game? You actually just have it?
I'm not positive, no. But the Ags doesn't say anything about it, and when they redesign Ags...
I would imagine someone in chat would have said it, because...
It might not have done anything. It might just be a useless thing for this last patch, but I'm not sure. Tide Hunter... Okay, so his shard is deleted, which was the Anchor Smash doing extra damage and doing it to buildings. That's basically applied to the talents now. And now he has a new ability for shard called Tendrils of the Deep. Releases a wave of tentacles in the targeted direction. The tentacles deal 50% of ravage damage and stun and travel 75% of ravage radius. Cooldown 20 seconds, mana cost 80. Okay, I know this isn't that big of a deal because it's just a shard. This is actually my least favorite thing of the entire patch. They literally just gave Tide Hunter Impale. Like, it's so fucking stupid. They could have thought of something cool. This is like one of the coolest conceptual heroes in the game, and you give him the 3rd Impale in Dota now.
Yeah.
I hate it a lot. Doesn't mean it's not good.
Also, yeah, it might be really good, but it's also like the way that it interacts with Ravage, right? You're going to Ravage, and then you Ravage again on a smaller one. So you hit a Ravage on 2 heroes, and then you walk over, and then you also Tendrils them afterwards.
Yeah.
It's not particularly interesting, and like you said, it's not particularly creative either. Yeah, I think it might just be it might be pretty good, but
I'm not saying it's not good. I just think this is really stupid for the hero. Least favorite change in the patch by far.
Yeah, let's quickly do Timber Saw, because this is actually there's a lot of math here, but I do want to go over it. So Reactive Armor got changed to have way more max stacks, and then the stacks are weaker. So max stacks went from 6, 12, 18, 24 to 10, 20, 30, 40. And then when you get hit by a hero, you get 2 stacks instead of 1. So effectively, maxing this out with hero hits is faster than before. We needed to get hit 24 times by heroes. Now you need to get hit 20 times. But obviously, you only get 1 stack for being hit by creeps. And what that means is it's harder to get maximum reactive armor from creep waves and from neutrals, because you need to get hit effectively almost twice as much to double it, to max it out compared to before. The maximum values when it's maxed out are pretty comparable, so that's almost the same thing. But yeah, joining teamfights with max armor running is a lot more difficult, because it's just going to be harder to maintain max stacks and get them up in the first place. You're going to need to stand in creep waves a lot longer, which is going to cost you farm if you want to have the stacks running. A lot of the time, Timber Saws would just go in a wave, get hit a couple of times, and then kill them off. Now, if you actually want those armor stacks to join the fight, you need to wait an extra second or 2. This is meaningful. He did get 0.3 strength gain, though, to compensate a bit.
And he got a cool neutral item reserved just for him.
And he got a neutral item, and the mana cost of Chakram went down a bit. I still think this is an overall nerf, but we'll see. Rearm got changed on Tinker. If you interrupt him during rearm, it has a cooldown now. 8, 7, 6 seconds. But the trade-off is that it is cheaper to use, and it has shorter cast time.
That's a quality of life for everybody playing against the Tinker, so I'm okay with it.
And it's a quality of life for good Tinkers that don't get caught, because then it's just more efficient. So
yep, true.
Goes both ways. Okay, Tiny's ult is changed. It doesn't give you a flat attack speed decrease on grow anymore. Now it gives a percentage attack speed decrease, which also affect items and spell bonuses. So for example, if you get Alacrity, I guess this attack speed slow still interacts with that. But it doesn't scale. So it's always a flat 30% on all levels, and you get more bonus damage from grow, up from 30, 70, 110 to 50, 100, 150.
All right, what was it before?
This is a buff to the slow.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I think it was 40, 70, 100 or something. Attack speed flat, and now it's percentage. This is a buff to Ags because that throws at the same speed, but you have more damage from Grow. Interesting to see how this works.
Sad. My boy
Okay,
Tiny.
one of the onto Treant Protector, one of the predictions that some of the talent has is that this hero will be amazing and hasn't been discovered yet. Living Armor level 1 is wild compared to before now. So it heals 3, 4, 5, 6 health per second, but now it gives 6 armor level 1 instead of 3. So it's up from 3 plus 3 per level to 6 plus 2 per level. And it has a downtime of 50% on level 1, and eventually it has a downtime of less than 0. Like you can have more than one running at a time. This seems like a crazy laning spell to put on your mid hero, to put on your lane partner with 1 value point. Very, very strong. 6 armor is an insane amount to just get for free in lane. Like imagine you're an offlane Centaur and somebody just puts living armor on you. You just god in that lane. Literally, it's just insane. See if the teams pick up on that and how good it actually is. On top of that, Treant gets perhaps the single best level 25 talent in the game, but he's Treant, so he's probably not getting there. But if you guys play a long game and you get there, you're going to have a high win rate with this talent.
Yeah.
Overgrowth, undispellable. Perhaps, yeah, like I said, perhaps the single best talent in the whole game.
Especially with Void
disarms.
Spirits 25 talent changing, which will come soon.
Yeah, so like the one counter to this is the fact that it's dispellable. When you get there, it's a disarm and it's a root and it lasts for fucking eternity on level 25. Insane talent.
It is fucking crazy.
But yeah, you need to get there. Okay, Troll. Ensnare now pierces spell immunity. So you can root people when you're melee, even though they're BKB'd. That's a very big buff to this hero.
I'm surprised they didn't change the shard or the ult in any way, but I guess that's for after TI probably.
Yeah.
Walrus Kick is blocked by Lincoln Sphere. That's very small, but that's the one interaction that technically shouldn't happen. It should not be blocked by Lincoln Sphere, but...
Yeah, I don't know why they did that to appease people or whatever. I think it was fine that it didn't, because it was a physical ability. So, but maybe it was too good that you couldn't itemize against it, which I could see the logic in that. Undying. Decay got changed, so the debuff and buff no longer modifies your health when expiring. Enemies no longer gain health, and you no longer lose health when it expires. That should be a pretty big buff. Better cast point is way faster, but it lost some damage. Deals 0 damage level 1. It looks so funny.
Yeah,
is this the only spell in the game that has 0 damage on level 1 and then gets damage? I think it is.
Probably.
It looks so weird looking at this. Alright. Yeah, okay.
Veno.
I guess we can quickly do Ven. Shard no longer gives bonus magic missile cast range. And the bounce range mirrors the current cast range, which is based on the level of magic missile. Actually, no, that wasn't that important. Alright, Veno gets a new shard.
Hey, there's an icon for it now. I didn't see this before.
Yep. This shard is... I played Veno and tried this. It's really interesting. So... it gives you a new spell. The old one gave you Plague Wards when you hit Gale, which is now a talent. This shard is called Latent Toxicity. It applies a weak slow, so it's a 10% slow, which obviously stacks with your other slows, very Veno, and deals 20 damage per second for 7 seconds. So not that strong. 140 total damage, 10% slow. Not that great. But if it is dispelled... the target takes 300 damage and gets stunned for 2 seconds. 20-second cooldown. This is a single target ability, even though it doesn't say that. And it has 600 cast range.
And it uses
the cast point is very short.
It uses the Shadow Strike particles, but maybe that got fixed.
I didn't actually notice that when I used it. I didn't even notice any particles, to be honest.
Oh. So the idea is to like get a Gale on them with this, so they want to dispel it, right?
Yeah, so you have to pick your poison, literally.
Yeah.
Are you going to take the slow off from Gale, but then get 2 seconds stunned, or not? And I tried this against a Medusa who went Manta style, and she actually got stunned after Manta. So you can't Manta it off either. The stun lands afterwards. So very strong.
And a stun
you can't Lotus Orb.
It goes through
off.
BKB as well.
Yeah. So
I don't know
there's
if the
literally
damage
no
does,
way of
though.
avoiding this stun if you...
Do you know if the damage goes through? Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know. But it's cool. I don't know how good it is. I think Venom's win rate actually went down, but it's a cool shard. I think people just need to understand when to buy it and how to
now
use
this
it.
is an interesting concept. Not sure if it's good, but Viper has a new scepter. So finally, Veno's the only one with an old school scepter now, right?
Pretty much.
So you get a new skill called Nosedive. You slam into the ground, disarming enemies in a 500 radius for 4 seconds. And it's only a cast range of 300, so very short range, but disarm. But you also splatter everyone in a 1200 area, which is huge, with corrosive skin. So the cooldown is 20 seconds. Cast range, like I say, is 300. Travel speed 500. Mana cost 75. Cast point 0.03 seconds. And the scepter now doubles damage and slows for enemies for corrosive skin within 500 distance of Viper. Additionally, allows corrosive skin to deal the first instance of damage the moment the debuff is applied. Haven't seen this in a game yet, but it is super short. Like, you think that's short, and then you try it in a game, and you're like, holy shit, that is really short range.
As part of our caster stack yesterday, OD picked Viper and bought this, and he fed, but we carried him, so it was good.
Okay, good.
It did not look very strong to me. And I think part of the problem is, even if Viper is tanky, Viper wants to play from range, right? Like, you want to take advantage of being a tanky ranged hero, not being a tanky hero in melee. And you are exposing yourself by using this because, 500 radius is pretty big, but it's still smaller than your attack range, especially with Dragonlance in the old school build. And it's expensive. Like, it's 4,200 gold for this when you could buy stat items. You could get Scotty. You could get, other things. And with the old Ags, you were like specifically hard countering an enemy hero. You were targeting a guy and making him miserable. With this is obviously fully counterable by BKB. And the disarm is good, right? So I think it has some uses, but I don't know. I don't know how good it is, but it's creative, right? It's it'll probably just.
I'm just happy that the old one's gone. Now just waiting on Veno.
Yeah, it's definitely good that the Aghanim Scepters are more iconic and interesting than just more damage or lower cooldown or something.
Okay, Void Spirit, his shard was changed. So the old one was the bigger remnant thingy. What's it called? His
one more ring Dissimulate.
So that's a talent now. Now you get it decreases Aether Remnant cooldown by 2 seconds, increases the watch range by 150, and changes Remnant to persist through being activated by creeps. Still damages them once, but does not disappear. Now affects the closest unit to the Remnant rather than one closest to the center line. No longer interrupts effects that displace a unit. Interesting. So you can kind of just like create a bunch of these, right? Because it lasts for a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
20-second. So you can have 2 up, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't change that much.
Is this worth 1,400 gold? I mean, the 2-second cooldown is really nice, right? It's the same with the Shaker Shard, where, a big part of the appeal is that you get the secondary stun on Aftershock when you cast Enchant Totem, but it also reduces the cooldown on Fissure by 2 seconds, which is really good. So maybe this is not that bad. Like, the 2-second CDR on
and the outer Dissimulate ring, I didn't mention. I said it was a talent. It's a 15 talent. You don't get the damage they used to, but it's still. And then the 25 talent, which used to be the best talent in the entire game, Dissimulate Stunning, which was eventually nerfed from 2.5 to 2, I think, and then from 2 to 1.75, has now just been replaced to a 2-second root instead. So
what's his other 25 talent?
Far
I think
worse.
The other one is better now.
Astral Step, 160% crit.
Yeah, I think that's just better
most
of the time, honestly.
A root at level 25 is not going to be
be good. It's not good, except if you're a Treant, in which case it's the best ever.
True.
Yeah. Okay.
Upheaval now does damage,
changed.
right?
What's up?
Upheaval does increasing amount of damage now. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't find this spell interesting at all. I don't know why I said it was interesting, but it's new. Sure.
New Weaver Shard. I mean, it's basically... So instead of the old one, you proc Geminate attack on people that were attacked by your bugs. Now instead, the shard puts a mark on enemies that use Shikuchi for 6 seconds, and when Geminate attack procs, the enemies with a mark within 1200 range also get hit. So it's now tied to Shikuchi instead of being tied to the swarm.
Well, big difference is it doesn't hit Invis units anymore, which I think was kind of a big deal.
Yes. But the good thing about this for the Weaver is that you're guaranteed to get 2 Geminate attack procs on anyone you Shikuchi through, where the old one, if they killed the bug, you couldn't hit them again.
Right.
right?
Yeah, I think
Geminate
it's cool.
attack level 4 is it 2.5 second cooldown or is it 3? I think it's 2.5. So you might technically be able to get 3 times the double attack on the Shukuchi targets if you hit right away. It doesn't sound too bad, and I don't know if you can dispel the mark or if that goes through everything. So then you have no way of getting away from the Geminates.
Yeah,
it might actually be very good.
It's a cool change.
Windrunner. Right, Windrunner. We played against this, so I saw this firsthand. It looks really funny. So when you have Scepter and Windrunner, you don't get Undispellable Windrun anymore, but now it grants invisibility that doesn't break when you're attacking or casting spells, including Focus Fire. Instead, you can see where Windrunner is because there's like a little ring of light on the ground that follows her trajectory where she's moving while she's invis and casting spells and dealing damage.
So effectively, you know that she's there, but if you don't have vision, you can't click her or anything like that.
You cannot interact with her. I mean, you can hit ground stuns and stuff, but yeah.
This is going to be a pub destroyer, though, right?
I think the older one was just better. But
for pubs, like low-level pubs, this will destroy, right? I feel like.
I would imagine. I mean, it has its uses, right? It has situations where it's really cool, but I think the new, the old one with the Undispellable was really strong. So.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. Although it is quality of life for the old talent.
Are you ready for the most random change of the entire patch? Here it comes. Witch Doctor. I mean, aside from the fact that he lost 50 attack range for no reason. Voodoo Restoration now deals damage to enemies for the same amount as healing.
It's really weird, yeah.
And it has a bigger radius, up to 650 instead of 500, but the heal is decreased on lower levels. This is so strange to me, because when is Witch Doctor ever going to be close to enemy heroes?
Now he will be.
He will in lane, right? Like, this is strictly for laning, where you can go in and trade because you heal you and you damage them. I mean, it's pretty strong, I'll say, in the beginning of the game in laning, but after that, it just feels so weird. Like,
how much damage does that? Is this good for farming? I mean, Cask was already decent for farming. Does this help farming at all?
I mean, yeah, it gives you some wave clear, right? Which every hero apparently has to have in Dota.
Exactly, that's my point.
I don't know. It's just weird. Like, that's all I can say. I understand what they're trying to do and what the logic is. I just feel like it just doesn't fit the hero's identity to me at all. Mm-hmm. But we'll see. I mean, I'm curious to see it in laning play. I think maybe you go 1-2-0 build, but then you don't have Maledict. You know, that also feels terrible. I don't know, man. It's weird. Maybe 1-1-1, and then you Maledict them and you cast Cask and Voodoo Restoration and run next to them and hit them.
Oh, you know what they did? It's because of Centaur's Ags, the hitch a ride.
Oh,
now Voodoo Restoration can be put inside of an enemy. Terrific synergy. I love it. Thank you.
And you can cast Death Ward while you're in the cart.
That's right. It's great.
Yeah. Death Ward has 50% bonus accuracy, and so does Voodoo Switcheroo. That's a pretty big buff. It means you are way less likely to evade attacks.
Not gonna lie, I completely forgot it was even evadable, if I'm being honest. It doesn't even make sense why it would be. It's a spell, you know?
Oh, it's doing physical attacks.
It's a spell. Yeah. It's not a person.
I wouldn't mind it having 100% accuracy. I don't think that would be a problem.
Yeah, I agree.
This spell is already not that great. I think that's the end, Shannon.
Yeah.
Of the big stuff.
I think so. I mean, Heavenly Jump finally got nerfed, I guess.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's still good. All right, so real quickly, what do you like and don't like? What do you think of the patch overall?
Big likes, without having played more than 3 games so far. Big likes are XP change and gold changes. Very, very good for me. Slowing down the game. Removing small camp, very good too. So like I said in the start of this, when we started this like 3 hours ago, most of my favorite things are in the first 10 lines or 15 lines of the patch, right? And usually it is, because this is the thing that I care about the most, is the general updates, because they affect literally every game. They affect the flow of how it feels like to play Dota, what works, what doesn't, and how the pros are going to be approaching the strategy of it. So I think a lot of people want it slowed down, and I hope this is what this does. A lot of the time it's really complicated. You don't really know. Like, yeah, there's less gold, but is that actually going to mean that push strats are better now? Because, you know, the heroes that could defend aren't going to be able to in time, or is it going to mean that the games actually get slowed down with the glyph change, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Let's play some 100 games and see where it goes. But the idea that the heroes ramp up slower absolutely will happen no matter what. Like, heroes are going to get 6 slotted slower, and they're going to get their high-level talents slower. Then the question is if pushing strats just own and end games minute 20, like at TI4, toward the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
Personally, don't think that's what's happening, but it could be. So let's be cautious and try to avoid that. Really like the BKB nerf. I like the overall interaction with BKB that they're promoting with mana costs and stuff. I think the half-life stealing creeps is interesting. Let's see how that works out. Big fan of multiple of the neutral item removals. Not too big of a fan of the additions overall, I would say, but it's okay. And I think a lot of the hero changes were with heroes. We didn't go over all the nerfs and buffs, but a lot of the heroes that needed nerfs got them. A lot of the heroes that needed some buffs got them. And I like overall the creativity with like some of the new shards and scepters, right? So I think overall, I'm pretty pleased, I have to say. Especially compared to some of the stuff we've had in the past.
I'll just start with the negatives real quick so I can end on a positive note. I think some of the hero changes were a bit weird, which I already mentioned, like the Tidehunter shard I'm not a big fan of. What was the other thing? I'm fine with the creeps being, or everything being, like every XP being harder and gold being less abundant and whatnot. Why am I blanking on something I don't? Oh, I think the map changes, maybe they're going to be good. Could very well be wrong, but I don't like that it's just a Band-Aid.
It looks a bit forced
to the situation, but I'm going to look at it as a positive side that it's a Band-Aid because they're changing it so much after TI that we're going to get that second Roche, of course, that I keep mentioning. So the things I do like, Primal Beast in Captain's Mode, obviously. The BKB changes, like you said, a lot of the item stuff is cool. Some of the hero edition thingies, like the Clockwork Ags, Bounty Hunter, his shard is really fucking cool. Even though it's not going to be good, Primal, the Brewmaster Scepter, I think is going to be eventually cool. I just love the concept. Like a lot of the conceptual stuff I am a big fan of in this patch. So overall, I am happy. Makes it a little bit more fresh to play. Do you think this was enough changes to satisfy your...
This patch was bigger. This patch was bigger than what I expected pre-TI, to be honest.
But you were expecting. You said you were expecting big terrain changes. I wouldn't say these are big.
No, I think we've gone through different versions at this point of what I was expecting. Right
Probably.
Now that the time narrowed in, I think I was expecting some rebalancing here and maybe small terrain changes, and then a bigger overhaul after TI. And I even wasn't. I don't know. At this point, I kind of wasn't even expecting economy changes pre-TI, or at least not pre-qualifiers. But a lot of the stuff here is good. So yeah, I would say, like relative to expectations, I am positively surprised. Whereas I think the last 2 or 3 patches has been the other way around, where some of the stuff that came in this patch I was hoping for half a year ago. So it's kind of bittersweet. It's like, yes, finally we get this stuff, but also why did it not happen earlier? Because I think especially some of the formulaic stuff, I don't think was like that high of a risk to implement after, let's say, the last major or whatever, or even the major before, to put in less gold or less experience or whatever. But I guess maybe you wanted to give it more time and see what the higher pace did to the game. But yeah, I got to say overall, weighing the pros and the cons, I'm overwhelmingly positive about.
That's
what
good.
I'm seeing.
Now, the real question is, because I did forget to end with the fact that I love the Centaur Ags, even though I think it's terrible. It's like a love-hate relationship. The fact that they've made a quote-unquote very boring hero, which has been one of my favorite heroes for a long time, actually fun to play, is cool. Do you think, through the qualifiers, let's just say TI, at TI, will anybody be purchasing Ags on Centaur?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
I think there will be 1 or 2 niche games with some sort of strategy or some sort of idea, and it might also be buffed before then, right?
True.
If it's too bad.
Do you think it would be broken if Blink worked fully?
I would definitely make it a lot better.
Yeah.
I don't know about broken. It's one of those things where it's just like it's almost impossible to balance, right? It's either going to be insane or weak. And then it's about whether it's insane at the right time with the right hero against the right lineup or not. But one thing's for damn sure, it's really fucking funny, right? That's what I was saying. Like, it's fun and it will make moments. And then whether those moments are hilarious or bad or good is...
I disagree that it is that hard to balance. Because all you got to do, like, you can buff everything and just get rid of the invulnerable stuff. That makes it so much worse, right?
Sure.
I feel like it's very
But then
balanceable.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, you could do that. But then you're also taking away the charm of it, right? Which is the untargetability.
Well, the charm
That's
is
what
that you're
makes it
pulling
good.
somebody around wherever the fuck you want. That's the charm, Cinder. Don't get it wrong, okay?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, why would they want that if you're just killing them? You know?
We need
Like, they
terrain
need the
walking
protection.
valve, and we need 1 second longer of stampede added on top of the cart, okay? Give us some
Okay.
of the old ags. We don't need the damage
And damage
reduction. Yeah, maybe 15% damage reduction for everybody on the team. That's fine too. Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, okay, cool. That brings us to the end of the episode. Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember, next week, which will be the Battle Pass episode, will be 2 days later. So September.
1 day later, I think.
For me, it's 2 days later. You know, I'm gonna look this up now.
It's also 1 day later.
Is it because it's at 2 a.m. and it becomes September 1st when we're streaming? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean, usually when we record for you, it is past midnight. So it's already Thursday for you. And we're just moving it to the Friday. So we're
All right,
moving it by a day, right?
I'm looking this up right now. We're not ending this episode
There's
until I
nothing
find
to
this
look
out.
up. Our default time has you record after midnight. That
All
means
right.
you always record on
Cinderen's
Thursday.
right, everybody. I just looked in the calendar. It says September 1st, which is the Battle Pass day. So 24 hours afterwards, we will have our episode. Cinderen is finally right, despite only getting 2 correct answers for the SAP segment throughout a year and a half, or however the hell long it's been. Congratulations, Cinderen. Until next time, Suns fan and Cinderen signing out. Goodbye.
Bye.
We say things that don't mean anything, but thanks for listening. Yeah.